boy is capable of merging with any monster. But it wasn't always like that. He woke up in a strange world being mocked by a girl. They called He weak, a boy with no talent, no skills. Until the day they injected the serum of power. Everyone laughed, thinking he'd just become another ordinary worker. But the weakling of the class awakened a legendary power, a power capable of turning him into the king of monsters. But to understand how it all began, we need to go back to the moment he woke up in this new body. A desperate scream echoes through the classroom at Ancient High, where everyone is studying for the test. Clutching his head, the boy shouts, desperate at the thought of having to go through it all again. Since ancient times, humanity has been plagued by catastrophes and invasions from monsters coming from secret realms. These realms connect to other worlds and use dimensional rifts to invade Earth. To fight back, humans created a system that injects beast genes, awakening talents capable of saving civilization. As a result, warriors gained a status and treatment far superior to that of common people. The entire world entered an era where martial strength is everything. A system announces that the world introduction is complete and begins implanting memories into the host body Yiki. The young man awakens at his desk, trying to process that he is now a student named Yagi. Behind him, two classmates mock him, saying that loser Ye, he's having another nightmare. A girl sitting nearby tells him to drop out of school and become a common laborer for the rest of his days. He thinks to himself that every story with a bully protagonist seems to have an annoying girl. He instantly understands that the original owner of the body had a bad reputation because his parents' accident made him lose focus on his training and studies. In a panic, he realizes he has inherited the boy's humiliating and unpopular life, lamenting his tragic situation. The teacher announces that it's time to inject the genetic modification serum, the culmination of 3 years of hard work. He adjusts his glasses and adds a warning for those who didn't take their training seriously. He forces a smile, thinking that he wasn't the one who slacked off, but he's the one who has to face the consequences. With a determined look, he decides to fix all the mess left behind by the body's previous owner. In the genetic injection hall, students speculate on which high-level beasts they will awaken. A technological container opens in the center of the stage, releasing a cold mist. Inside, several vials of the genetic awakening serum glow with a bluish light. The teacher explains that the serum contains genes of ancient beasts and that everyone must calmly accept the power. The first names are called, and a professional administers the injection into a student's arm. Screams echo through the hall as their bodies react violently, releasing powerful auras. Seeing this, Yi grits his teeth and injects the serum directly into his body. His eyes glow intensely with a blue light. Sometime later, the teacher observes him and comments that he doesn't seem to have changed much. The girl who was teasing him approaches, laughing, and claims he didn't awaken anything at all. She gets even closer, mocking that warrior who doesn't awaken is completely doomed. Suddenly, Yi feels a different energy coursing through his body, and a system panel informs him that he has acquired the infinite monster model. The girl gets angry, thinking he's faking it, but he tells her to get away. His eyes glow blue as he warns them it will be too late if they don't back away. A powerful blue aura explodes from his body, throwing the girl backward. The wave of energy knocks down nearby students, unable to withstand the pressure. A female student with a purple aura in her hands watches the scene surprised. Another, surrounded by ice crystals, wonders if there's someone stronger than him here. A new panel appears before Yu-He, revealing he has awakened a rank of monster model. He stares at his own glowing hand, realizing this is the special power granted by the system. The two classmates who mocked him earlier look on in shock, unable to believe this is the same Yu-He they call the loser. The girl who taunted him is unconscious, not understanding what kind of power he awakened to defeat her so easily. Turning to the fallen students, he apologizes, saying he had warned them to stay back. An announcement echoes over the hall's loudspeakers, summoning all awakened third-year students to the testing building to examine their new genes. The panel displays the result of a student who awakened a third-level magical beast bloodline, becoming number 1 in the class. Soon, the name of Chu Zhao, the top student, appears. He awakened the high-tier Ice Demon Dragon bloodline. Next, a female student surprises everyone by awakening a rare Stage 4 bloodline, the Ethereal Sparrow. Observing the results, Yi wonders why his model was classified as Class A instead of by stages like the others. His name is announced as the next one, catching him by surprise. As he notices the stares around him, he understands that everyone only admires the strongest, confirming that martial power is everything in this world. The strongest student walks confidently to the testing pod. In the audience, students comment excitedly, recalling the incredible pressure he released moments earlier. Even the class of number 1 student stares at him, recognizing he might be looking at someone promising. The result appears on the panel, showing only that Yuri is a Stage 3 martial disciple with an unknown bloodline. The crowd erupts in laughter, mocking his low level and calling him a loser. He leaves the testing area in silence, having already expected this. He confirms to himself that the device couldn't detect his model. At that moment, the system displays an upgrade guide, explaining that new monster models can be obtained by completing missions. A confident smile appears on his face as he realizes the true potential of his power. His eyes begin to glow again with the idea of conquering infinite models and becoming the true king of monsters. In the teacher's office, the master questions Yivehi's decision to study at home for the college entrance exam. The boy insists, explaining that he's fallen too far behind and needs special training to catch up. The teacher advises him to prepare to repeat the year since his foundation is too weak to pass the exam. With a sincere look, he begs for a chance, and the master finally gives in. Afterward, he walks alone toward the ancient warrior center. Inside, he analyzes the money he has and considers his two options for increasing his power. Examining the system data, he wonders why his compatibility with the monster template is only 3%. The answer appears: his template absorbed the power of the genetic awakening serum. Realizing he can strengthen his templates with reagents, he decides he needs to buy more serum. Using his student ID at a terminal, his eyes widen in surprise. He can feel the aura and bloodline of every warrior around him because of his new vital magnetic field. The template, named Demora, picks up the life signals emitted by every nearby creature. An uncontrollable desire to fight awakens within him, promising to show the world what it means to be the king of beasts. Suddenly, a hand lands on his shoulder, pulling him from his thoughts. When he turns around, he finds a woman who friendly scolds him for staring so openly. He apologizes and asks where he can buy genetic medicine, and she notices the typical lack of control of someone newly awakened. The woman warns him that genetic medicine is expensive and can build up resistance over time. When he asks for the price, she calculates and informs him that a beginner's potion costs about 400,000. The shock is immediate, and he asks if there's any way to get a discount. She hands him a business card, saying that a referral from a veteran warrior might help. With a smile, he thanks her and says goodbye as the woman watches him walk away. Determined, he prepares for the next step of his plan. Shortly after, he spends a large sum on supplies and a new weapon. Later that night, a flash of energy lights up the window of one of the school dorms. Surrounded by empty syringes, he absorbs the potion's energy, and his system panel shows his compatibility and stats rapidly increasing. He tests his new physique on his room's floor, satisfied with the speed of his progress. He feels that with this newfound power, he finally has a real chance to stand out in the exam. The scene shifts to an explanation of the secret realm classifications, which range from low levels to the apocalyptic S-class. Equipped and ready to fight, he arrives at an E-level secret realm, realizing the place had been explored long ago. At the reception desk, an employee hands him a ticket after he signs the liability waiver. Outside, he stares at a massive, swirling blue portal, the rift to the secret realm. A wild smile spreads across his face as he declares that this is the beginning of his journey to become the king of beasts. He runs and leaps with all of his might toward the portal. His body is swallowed by the blue energy swirling inside the dimensional rift. Just after crossing through, he lands on the other side and slides across the ground to absorb the impact. Lifting his gaze, he's struck by the magnificent landscape, where 3 planets can be seen between the treetops. As he moves through the forest, he spots a red creature hiding behind a bush. A blade-fanged rabbit, a first-level beast, leaps aggressively at him. He grabs it by the ears, showing that he had already sensed its presence with his vital magnetic field. A single punch is enough to defeat the creature instantly. He examines the magic core extracted from the monster, calculating the value and efficiency of the hunt. Uninterested in wasting time on weak beasts, he discards the core and moves on in search of his second-level enemy. Suddenly, the ground ruptures before him, revealing a giant demonic larva. He wields his dagger with a smile of pure excitement, satisfied to have finally found the challenge he was looking for. The scene shifts to the E-class secret realm, Anqing No. 3, a place covered in strange flora under an alien sky. He blocks the giant larva's attack with his sword. He recalls reading that the creature's belly is its weak spot as the monster's green blood drips down. The beast curls into a ball and rolls toward him with impressive speed. Concentrating energy in his fists, he prepares one of his new martial arts. A concentrated beam of energy shoots out and hits the monster's carapace, but it deals little damage. The creature retaliates, spitting purple energy projectiles from its mandibles. The boy's eyes widen, surprised by its ranged attack ability. With an agile leap, he dodges the shots as they whiz past him. One of them hits his jacket, drawing an annoyed complaint about the price of the newly bought clothes. Facing the enemy, he realizes he can't win with his current martial level and decides to resort to his special power. His eyes glow an intense blue as the bloodline of the demon emperor, Demora, activates. A blue draconic aura explodes around him, and the system panel displays his power level rising from 15 to 21. In an instant, he moves swiftly and cuts down the demonic larva with a single strike. His silhouette distorts into a shadowy beast before lunging into the monster's open mouth. He tears the creature apart from the inside, sending a green shower everywhere. With the battle over, he deactivates the transformation and expels the accumulated heat from his body. He then notices that his newly bought sword has been completely corroded by the creature's venom. The energy expenditure leaves him exhausted and his stomach rumbles with hunger, but he has no food with him. Suddenly, an incredibly fragrant aroma fills the air. The source of the scent is the green-grade magic core extracted from the demonic larva. Without a second thought, he swallows the core, which dissolves and releases energy inside him. A blue aura envelops him as the system announces an increase in his compatibility with the monster template. A wide grin appears as he realizes the magic cores are far more effective than the expensive potions. Tears of regret stream down his face as he remembers the money wasted on useless items. He turns his frustration into motivation and decides to hunt as much as possible. He activates his vital field, which expands in waves to detect all nearby creatures. The next afternoon, he leaves the secret realm with his stats significantly enhanced. 20 white and 1 green magic core are dumped on the counter, leaving the receptionist completely stunned. After handing over a portion of the cores as a government tax, He receives 200,000 credits in his account. With 9 days left before the college entrance exam, the scene shifts to the entrance of a portal leading to a D-class secret realm. A group of warriors gathers around a jeep, discussing their mission to find the Blood Jade Flower, now 1 member short. The leader, Lin He, introduces the new martial artist he hired through an agency. Using the alias Onosla Yai, he introduces himself, explaining he had to use an illegal agency to enter the realm since he's still a student. The team members find the name odd, and he explains that his original one would violate copyright. The leader warns him not to cause trouble, and the young man agrees, thinking it's good to have responsibilities clear from the start. With their objectives set, the group speeds up in the jeep and dives straight into the blue portal. Soon they're crossing an alien desert, guided by a tracker indicating the flower's location. During the journey, he observes the landscape and concludes that the secret realms don't belong to a single connected world. Suddenly, monsters emerge from the sands and attack the moving vehicle. The captain orders Hood to deal with the creatures. The warrior obeys, launching a series of sharp blades at the pack. The strikes hit the monsters square in the head, taking out several at once. As the jeep pulls away, explosions erupt in the sand right behind them. Hood confirms the targets are eliminated, and Yi carefully observes his companion's ruthless and precise technique. Further on, a vast desert with an oasis and 3 visible planets in the sky unfolds before them. The team continues their journey on foot under the scorching sun. Curious, Yi asks why they are using the jeep, and the leader explains that the engine noise would attract more monsters. The captain begins to assign roles, defining who will throw grenades, who will set traps, and who will be on the front line. Pointing at Yi, he orders him to just watch, and he agrees with a relaxed gesture. A stun grenade is thrown toward the oasis, exploding and releasing pheromones to attract predators. The detonation awakens a colossal earth dragon, a level 2 monster that emerges furiously from the dust. Meanwhile, in another part of the desert, a mysterious figure approaches. A bald man in sunglasses licks the blade of his dagger with a smile. Captain Lin leads with precision, finishing the earth dragon with a single clean strike. The creature collapses, and the team wonders if it's finally been defeated. Sheathing his sword, the leader orders everyone to press forward without wasting time. Suddenly, a massive claw erupts from the sand, and one of the warriors screams a desperate warning. He reacts instantly, leaping up and preparing to counterattack. A devastating punch is thrown, forming a pillar of energy that disintegrates the monster in seconds. The others watch in shock, unable to believe a rookie could possess such strength. They surround him enthusiastically, congratulating the young man for saving the captain and accepting him as a true comrade. One of the warriors holds the dragon's soul essence, a red orb pulsing with energy. Amidst admiring comments, they explain that the item can enhance a martial artist's genetic model. Captain Lin sighs in relief, believing the worst is over. But in that same instant, a blade pierces him from behind, paralyzing him with surprise. Screams of horror echo across the field as the team tries to understand what just happened. Turning with great effort, the captain faces the traitor, Hood, one of his own comrades. With a cold smile, the traitor reveals his motive is simple: to get rich. From the shadows emerges a bald man in dark sunglasses. Hu Feng, his accomplice. One of the warriors recognizes him as the thief who attacks martial artists inside the secret realms. Poisoned and dazed, the captain realizes the traitor already knew the flower's location before the mission even began. With a steady gaze, he deduces that the information was transmitted by the darts Hood used earlier. The traitor praises him for being sharp, mocking him for risking his life instead of studying for college entrance exams. With a smirk, Yi replies that the title of top student is already his for the taking. Irritated by the taunt, Hood furiously throws his daggers. A blue glow appears in Yi's eyes as he retorts that the bald guy giving orders is the truly arrogant one. Energy condenses in his hands, forming an incandescent blue sphere. In a firm voice, he declares that it's time to take out the trash. Hu Feng watches with an intrigued smile and orders them to bring him the boy. The traitor charges forward, launching a series of flaming blades. Yi responds by creating a spinning shield of blue flames, blocking every strike amidst sparks and heat. The collision kicks up a cloud of dust, and one of the survivors warns that the traitor has vanished from sight. In the blink of an eye, Hood reappears in the air and unleashes a powerful kick. As Yi braces for the counterattack, he concentrates a sphere of blue energy between his fingers, taking the perfect opportunity to test his new skill. A beam of energy shoots out, hitting the traitor square in the chest. The team members watch in shock, unable to believe a rookie defeated a veteran with a single blow. He blows on his fingertip as if it were a gun, as the traitor's defeated body falls to the sand. Furious, Hu Feng points and demands to know which great family he comes from to possess such a powerful genetic technique. A massive dragon projection appears behind the young man, who ironically replies that he belongs to the demon clan. Hu Feng scoffs, stating that even with a genetic technique, the difference in their martial levels is immense. He then activates his bloodline, transforming into a giant bear-like monster. He announces the name of his martial technique, Peak Shaker. He moves in and strikes first, hitting the creature's leg with an energy blast that makes it scream in pain. The monster counters with a powerful punch, trying to smash him into the ground. He narrowly dodges as the impact of the fist carves a crater in the sand. The villain grabs him and fires a volley of purple energy spikes from his back. Yi drops to one knee and unleashes a purple energy shockwave that spreads in all directions. When the attack ends, he leaps at him with a fist charged with energy and announces, Now it's my turn. He concentrates all his energy into a flaming punch, delivering his most powerful blow. The attack hits the monster square in the chest, generating a blue energy explosion that completely consumes it. Hu Feng's body falls to the sand, reverting to his human form, utterly defeated. The other team members watch in a state of shock, stunned by the overwhelming power they just witnessed. Defeated, the villain curses Yahello with his last breath, vowing that such a wicked master will be punished. With his eyes glowing, Yahello glares at him coldly, questioning who he thinks he is to curse him. The martial arts admission exam begins at the An City Central Sports Stadium. The crowd roars as the announcer declares the competition will be a single elimination tournament. Students will need to win 3 matches until the year's top scorer is decided. With an excited shout, the host officially declares the start of the city's exams. Instantly, intense battles erupt across the arenas, filled with energy and the shouts of the crowd. In Arena 6, however, Huang Tongtong's opponent has yet to appear. The announcer states that if Yi doesn't arrive in time, it will be considered a forfeit. Annoyed that she can't humiliate him, Huang Tongtong unleashes her fire lizard aura. In the stands, the crowd begins to mock Yi, calling him a coward. The referee checks the clock, preparing to call time. Just then, 2 masters in the stands sense a powerful aura approaching. In the sky, a figure surrounded by blue energy cuts through the air toward the stadium. He lands in the center of the arena with a devastating impact, unleashing a shockwave of power that sweeps through the area. The force of the blast shoves Huang Tongtong back, forcing her to shield herself, confused about what's happening. The newcomer's foot stops just inches away, ending the confrontation before it even begins. With a single kick, he sends her flying. After the fight, he looks up at the sky and sighs in relief, thinking he almost had to wait until next year. His opponent falls unconscious at the edge of the arena, and the referee declares Yi the winner. The crowd erupts in applause, stunned by his spectacular entrance and one-hit victory. With a slight smile, he recalls that the blood jade fruit given to him by Captain Lin strengthened his body impressively. On the tournament board, his name appears, advancing to the next round. The second fight ends the same way, with his opponent being thrown out of the arena with a single punch. In the third, he defeats his opponent again with just one kick, launching him into the air. The audience hails him as one-kick Superman for his overwhelming victories. With 3 wins secured, the announcement confirms his advancement to the 3rd round. Soon after, several university recruiters surround him, offering scholarships and spots in their institutions. For a moment, he considers which one to choose. Then he smiles confidently, gives a thumbs up, and declares he wants to join Huadu University. The recruiters walk away disappointed, and Yi thinks he can't blame them for doubting him, since Huadu is the top martial arts university in the country. With a manic grin, he decides he'll shut them all up when he takes first place. Shortly after, 2 officials approach and ask for his cooperation for a level reassessment. One of the officials grabs him and shouts in disbelief, seeing his power has jumped from the 3rd to the 9th level in just half a month. He explains that he followed his late father's advice and went to the secret realm, where he broke his own genetic limit during a battle. The 2 officials stare at him in shock, breaking into a cold sweat at the absurd revelation. Without wasting time, they rush to report the incident, while the young man understands he has become a person of interest. In various parts of the city, parents and friends watch the broadcasts, proudly cheering for their children. Sitting alone in the waiting room, Yi scrolls through the news on his phone. His melancholic gaze reveals the weight of his loneliness, feeling like a forgotten orphan. Far away, his old teacher watches the fight on TV and shouts, encouraging his student to do his best. The first match of the promotion round begins with Yahello in the center of the arena. His opponent is Lu Xuan, the top-ranked student from another school, who possesses a rare bloodline and is the heir to a family of warriors. With his eyes glowing blue, the young man calmly awaits his rival's first move. Lu Xuan smirks arrogantly, certain the outcome won't change, no matter who stands before him. Confidently, he releases his energy and awakens the power of his bloodline, ready for the clash. He lunges forward and unleashes a lightning claw strike, yelling that he will die if he isn't lucky. Even with the attack rushing toward him, the young man shows no fear. He grabs his opponent's hand and comments on the lack of strength in his strike. A scream of pain echoes as Lu Xuan's hand is completely crushed. He lifts his arm and slams him into the ground with devastating force, creating a crater in the arena. With a calm smile, he asks if there are any decent contestants, as the announcer declares another victory. The announcer calls another instant knockout, this time against the tournament favorite, Lu Xuan. He becomes an online sensation, with the public admiring his calm demeanor and mastery of his skills. The crowd goes wild, chanting his name and calling him One Kick Man. As Lu Xuan is carried away on a stretcher, a blue-haired student watches him from a distance. With a firm gaze, he vows to defeat Yahello in the final round. In the Huadu University broadcast room, an official demands a full report on the young man in 30 minutes. The scene shifts to another arena, where the second group's fights continue at a fierce pace. Kei Shaoling, known as the queen of her school, taunts her opponent for maintaining an apathetic expression. On the other side is Liu Qingzhu, the untouchable flower, who remains silent and focused. The referee blows the whistle, starting the match. Kei Shaoling charges with a direct strike, promising to see how her rival will react after being knocked down. Liu Qingzhu prepares herself and activates her family's secret art, enveloping herself in a serene and powerful aura. A cutting energy attack shoots from her hands and collides with her opponent's blow. The 2 exchange strikes at incredible speed, moving like shadows through the air. Liu Qingzhu scolds her opponent for not fighting seriously and counters with a flaming kick technique. In a swift move, she traps her adversary's hand within a rotating current of air. Kai Shaoling panics as she realizes she's trapped and can't break free. Seizing the opportunity, Liu Qingzhu unleashes the primordial chaos finger, an advanced-level martial technique. The announcer shouts in surprise, unable to believe a high school candidate has mastered something so powerful. Cornered, Kai Shaoling activates her bloodline, summoning the image of a flame tiger behind her. The manifestation takes form and charges ferociously at Liu Qingzhu. With a wild look in her eyes, she challenges her rival to show her legendary ethereal phoenix bloodline. Liu Qingzhu remains calm and replies that what she's already shown is more than enough. Furious, Kai Shaoling unleashes even more power, screaming that no one beneath her level can challenge her. The two collide in the center of the arena, one wielding fiery claws, the other guiding pure energy. Liu Qingzhu moves like a phantom, effortlessly dodging the attacks and counterattacking from below with a devastating kick. With her eyes glowing, she finishes with the primordial chaos jade finger. The energies clash, and an explosion of light and dust engulfs the arena. The crowd holds its breath, eager to see the result. When the dust settles, only Kai Shaoling is left standing. With a tired look, Kai Shaoling realizes the battle isn't over yet. In the next instant, her body gives into exhaustion and she collapses, revealing Liu Qingzhu as the true winner. The announcer declares her the champion, hailing her as a genius of her generation for her extraordinary skill. The scene shifts to the drawing ceremony for the final 8 tournament. He is called up and approaches to draw his sphere. Upon opening it, he discovers the symbol that places him in Group A. Soon after, a muscular student named Shen Guan walks up, revealing he's also in the same group. In a casual tone, he suggests they watch the first match while they wait for their turn. On the big screen, Chuju appears, defeating his opponent with ease. The announcer calls his victory, and Shen Guan remarks that he's from the same school as Yehi. The rival school's principal clenches his fist, angered by his student's defeat in the tournament's opening match. Curious, Yehi asks Shen Guan how the defeated fighter compares to him. With a confident smile, the young man brags about his strength, saying he's the president of his school's martial arts club. Staring at Yehi, he states that in this year's exams, he considers him his only real threat. He explains that his senses have always been sharp, and that he can feel the dormant beast inside his rival, ready to awaken. With a slight smile, he calls him to the arena, saying it's their time. The two step up for the second match of the final 8 tournament. The announcer calls the long-awaited showdown between Shen Guan of Qingfeng Private School and Yi of Anqing First Senior High. The competition to decide Anqing's top 4 rages on. In the arena, Yi and Shen Guan trade blows with raw power and devastating energy. The crowd reacts in shock at the intensity of the clash. With a bloody nose, Shen Guan grins and taunts him, asking if that's all his bloodline can do. His opponent raises a martial energy barrier, surrounding himself with a solid defense. Ye's eyes glow blue, and a smile forms on his face as he realizes he's facing a monster who shouldn't be underestimated. Shen Guan takes his stance, ready to show the true martial art passed down by his family. He charges forward, fists covered in energy, and unleashes the stag's peak strike. The speed catches Yahello off guard, and he takes a direct hit. For the first time, the one-kick Superman has been struck. The impact makes him spit as he slides backward. He digs his foot into the ground to steady himself, cracking the arena floor. Shen Guan gives him no time to breathe. Launching another attack, the bears collision. The shockwave hits him with brutal force, but Yi manages to block it, realizing none of his previous opponents had this level of experience. He holds his guard firm, waiting for the next move. Shen Guan grabs him, revealing he can not only inject his martial energy, but also lock down his opponents. He then throws him into the air with the ape's toss. Behind him, the aura of a fire tiger manifests, roaring fiercely. With muscles tensed, Shen Guan leaps toward his target with the tiger's pounce. In midair, the strike evolves into the eagle's dive, hitting Yi with devastating impact. The young man's body is thrown back, crashing into the ground and creating a crater in the center of the arena. Shen Guan crosses his arms and laughs, convinced of his victory. The medical team prepares to enter as the announcer begins to call the match. Suddenly, Shen Guan's smile vanishes as he sees the ground shake. A blast of dark blue aura erupts from the crater, sweeping across the arena with chaotic energy. From the shadows, a hand covered in sharp claws plants itself on the ground. He emerges clad in dark armor that pulses with lightning and growing power. In a firm voice, he states that for his rival's sake, he is the first to witness this transformation. Shen Guan stares, stunned, realizing that besides Liu Qingzhu, there is another genius in Anqing with the personification of a magical beast. Facing Yi's complete form, he feels the crushing wave of his bloodline awakening. In the control room, an examiner watches the nuclear radiation meter hit its limit. In response, the evaluators raise a martial energy barrier to contain the leak that threatens to escape the arena. In the stands, the students buzz with excitement, trying to guess what mysterious and powerful beast Yi had awakened. The young man knows the creature of his bloodline doesn't exist on this planet, which is why no one recognizes it. Shen Guan's nose starts bleeding again, and he realizes his martial arts shield can no longer contain the energy radiating from Yehi. With no other choice, he also activates his bloodline awakening, taking the form of the Golden Star Ape Demon. With a shout, he unleashes his martial art, creating a strike that takes the form of a golden serpent. Yehi faces the attack and prepares to counter with his own technique. In a single motion, he throws the Obliterator Fist, completely dissipating the energy serpent. Shen Guan looks at his arm, aware that it would have been destroyed if he hadn't released his full power in time. With a steady gaze, Yehi declares that no matter how skilled he was, the outcome of this fight would not change. The two rivals face each other in their transformed states, a third-order bloodline king against a rare and unknown magical beast. Shen Guan feels the weight of Yehi's strength, realizing he can only advance by making a strategic retreat. As he tries to gauge the next move, his opponent lunges forward, warning him not to get distracted. A series of strikes is unleashed with sharp claws. Shen Guan reacts instantly, channeling the Golden Serpent Strike. The attack is blocked by hand as Yehi firmly grabs his opponent's fist. In an instant, he reveals that his real target is behind him. The tail slices through the air towards Shen Guan's back. Suddenly, a colossal foot materializes high above, about to smash the field. The impact makes the arena tremble, kicking up dust and stone fragments. Shen Guan lands on the giant foot, only to realize his enemy has already vanished. A few meters away, Yehi appears with his arms crossed, unharmed and imposing. He takes a single step forward, cracking the ground, and announces that now it's his turn. A wave of blue energy explodes from his body, tearing through the air like a devastating blast. The impact hits Shen Guan head-on, forcing him to retreat and revert from his transformation. Falling, he bows his head and declares his surrender. Yeah, he sighs in frustration, lamenting that he had to hold back his power just when he was ready to fight. He retracts his claws and decides to end the match, exhaling a blue smoke that betrays his suppressed effort. Back in human form, he runs a hand through his hair, remembering that the rules forbid him from attacking after a surrender. The stands erupt in euphoria, and his classmates shout Brother Yi's name, celebrating his victory. Across social media, videos and memes show the contrast between Shen Guan's initial confidence and his humiliating defeat. The comments multiply, proclaiming Yehi as the highest scorer in the exam. In the principal's office at Kingfing Private School, the principal grinds his teeth in a rage. He confronts Shen Guan, screaming about the money he invested and calling him ungrateful. With a firm expression, the young man places a hand on his shoulder and says he only surrendered so he wouldn't end up in a coffin. He warns that it's not wise to threaten someone stronger. The principal turns pale and starts to sweat, stammering that he's right. Soon, the big screen announces the 4 finalists of the exam, ending the round with applause and tension. The principal of Ancient First Senior High celebrates the victory enthusiastically, while teacher Liu cheers even louder, overcome with euphoria. The drawing ceremony for the semifinals begins, and Yehi realizes that once again he has drawn the first number. On the other side, Liu Qingzhu reveals the same result, drawing curious looks from the audience. The big screen confirms the matchup. The first semifinal battle will be an internal duel between Yehi and Liu Qingzhu, both representing Ancient First Senior High. The crowd buzzes with anticipation over Liu Qingzhu's power, known for mastering 2 royal martial arts and carrying the bloodline of a 3rd-level king. There's also talk about Yehi, who defeated an opponent of the same caliber and might be hiding an even more terrifying bloodline. In the arena, the atmosphere is pure tension, and the stands are packed with eager spectators. The two competitors step onto the platform, positioning themselves face-to-face under the judge's watchful eye. With a firm nod, the referee announces the start of the match. Yehi dashes forward, advancing without hesitation to strike first. Liu Qingzhu moves calmly through the rising smoke, preparing her counterattack. From the mist emerges a figure cloaked in shadows, her eyes shining intensely. With a determined expression, she watches her opponent, thinking that she hopes he's really as strong as they say. The match begins, and Yehi releases a dense cloud of steam that covers the entire arena, blinding the audience. The announcer excitedly narrates, wondering how the talented girl from the Liu family will handle the competition's dark horse. Inside the smoke, Yehi makes out his opponent's silhouette and realizes her martial skills surpass his own. He understands that, as a combat genius, the longer the fight goes on, the harder she'll be to beat. He decides to go all out from the start and prepares the Mountain Prison Fist. Liu Qingzhu raises an energy barrier, assuming he'll use the move to force her on the defensive and create an opening for a counterattack. But the young man moves unexpectedly, launching a long-range sweep kick. As she leaps back, she realizes he didn't use a fist technique as announced, but a steel whip. Angered by the trick, she awakens her bloodline and roars. She charges forward with a straight punch, and the spectators react, accusing him of fighting without martial ethics. The tactic breaks Liu Qingzhu's rhythm, putting her at a disadvantage. Yehi keeps up the pressure, giving her no room to react. She channels her martial energy and forcefully repels him. His hand transforms into a claw, and he warns her she won't escape so easily. He launches himself through the air, delivering an energy-charged strike. Liu Qingzhu tracks his movement and manages to jump away, narrowly dodging. She immediately counterattacks, causing an explosion that shakes the arena floor. Suddenly, Yehi appears before her, shouting for her not to run away. The sequence of attacks is brutal, forcing her further and further back. While trying to defend, she notices her opponent's absurd strength and remembers her 2 secret techniques, the defensive floating shadow, and the offensive Hunyuan Jade Finger. She realizes she's being pushed to the edge and won't have time to use either technique before falling. With a steady gaze, she decides to use her last resort. A purple feather shrouded in dark energy materializes in her hand. His face fills with surprise as he recognizes the object. She reveals her final trump card, an eye-like artifact pulsing with immense power. She activates her bloodline's awakening, the ethereal bird. A colossal bird appears in the air, its purple wings expanding and shedding feathers of pure energy, leaving the boy in shock. Surrounded by her aura, Liu Qingzhu floats, revealing her awakened magical beast bloodline for the first time. Purple energy gathers in her palm as she warns Yi He to be careful, saying she can't control her power in this form. The young man smiles confidently and replies that it's better this way because now he can also fight with everything he's got. Suddenly, he feels feathers hitting him from behind and instinctively turns around. Before he can realize it, his opponent is already in front of him, unleashing the mysterious Hunyuan Jade Finger art. Yay! He retaliates with a shout, preparing the atomic explosion fist. The two techniques collide, releasing an explosion in the center of the arena. The crowd covers their eyes, blinded by the intensity of the impact. The shockwave sends Liu Qingzhu flying, a scream torn from her as her body is thrown through the air. Astonishment fills her face as she feels the enemy's overwhelming power. Through the smoke, Yi emerges transformed, his body now covered in dark armor crackling with blue lightning. A savage roar echoes, revealing the monstrous form he had hidden until now. The first semifinal of the exam erupts in a blast of blue lightning that engulfs the arena. Liu Qingzhu feels the dangerous fluctuation of energy and realizes the situation is about to spiral out of control. In his beast form, he concentrates an absurd amount of power. The protrusions on his back glow, gathering energy for a devastating blow. The power flows to his mouth, which begins to crackle with electric bolts. He fires a colossal blast of energy, the dreaded Godzilla's breath. Liu Qingzhu wraps her body with her wings, bracing for impact. She uses them as a shield, channeling every bit of energy to sustain her defense. Her eyes glow as she activates a latent ability, determined to resist. The beam hits her barrier in a blinding explosion. With great effort, she manages to redirect the attack using the feather deflection technique. The breath is deflected and shoots toward the ceiling, cracking the structures. The audience panics as they see the uncontrolled energy raining down on them. At the last second, a golden honeycomb-shaped barrier rises to protect the crowd. The beams ricochet around the arena, creating a chaotic spectacle of light and destruction. Shrouded in a golden aura, Mayor Huang, King of Anqing, appears, floating above the arena. With a firm gaze, he declares that on this day, the strongest champion in the city's history will be born. The announcer shouts in relief, thanking the mayor for saving the audience. Amidst the debris, blood drips, forming a puddle on the cracked floor. Liu Qingzhu remains standing, wounded and exhausted, her clothes tattered and her wings weak. Her face shows astonishment as she realizes her defense was shattered by a single blow. Doubt eats at her. Can she really defeat him? A memory surfaces. A young Liu standing before the ancestral tablets, being told she is the family's hope and that she cannot fail. Another memory overlaps. Her mother's voice, saying she dedicated everything so her daughter could revive the Liu name. The pressure suffocates her mother's gaze demanding that she keep winning, not just in the exam but always. Back in the present, she breathes heavily and faces Yahe. Her opponent is shrouded in an intense blue aura, his body vibrating with power. She silently admits that he is truly strong. She thinks it's only natural that she can't beat someone like him. With a tired face and a glint of resignation in her eyes, she urges him to end the fight quickly. She moves forward in a final motion and lands a direct blow on her opponent's chest. Surprised and with fear on her face, Liu Qingzhu asks why her opponent didn't dodge. His blue gaze remains fixed on her, serious and firm, as he asks where her fighting spirit from before has gone. Her eyes widen in confusion. The intensity in his gaze grows. He asks if she even truly looked at him during the fight. With his fist cloaked in energy, he shouts that he will win this title fair and square. Liu Qingzhu's purple eyes gleam, still confused by his words. In a sudden advance, he lands a direct punch to her face. His voice is firm as he warns her to face him seriously. The assault continues, fast, precise, merciless strikes. Between the impacts, the girl complains, saying he's cruel for attacking her like this. She screams, asking why he insists on fighting when she just wanted to hand him the victory. The final blow sends her flying amidst an explosion of energy. In midair, she protests that he shouldn't hit a girl in the face. He shows a satisfied smile. He says this is much better and taunts her to fight for real as she doesn't want to get beaten up. Rage fills her eyes. A roar echoes as she unleashes all her power in a blast of purple energy. Her body is engulfed in mystical flames. The art of ignition awakens. In her full magical beast form, she declares that she will defeat him with all her might, exactly as he wished. In the air, Liu Qingzhu floats with her wings spread, staring at her opponent. He grins, excited. He says that now that she's revealed her true form, things have finally gotten interesting. His transformation begins soon after. The dark armor completely envelops him, sparking with bluish lightning. In a firm tone, he states he can't let his guard down. His power combines the Demura model with Kaigong, creating a nuclear-like combat body. In his complete form, he challenges Qingzhu to a good fight. She concentrates purple energy in her hands, preparing her next strike. A gigantic tornado forms ahead, the rending hurricane, which charges forward, leaving a trail of destruction across the arena. He breaks through the whirlwind with an explosive fist, shattering the energy flow. The warrior responds with a devastating sonic scream that spreads in waves through the air. The two powers collide, and the arena is engulfed by an explosion of purple and blue light. Even after a direct hit, Yui holds his ground, resisting the force of the impact. With a defiant smile, he asks if she thinks she's the only one who can scream. The plates on his back glow intensely, charging energy for the next attack. Kingju recognizes the move, but decides to drop her defense and bet everything on her final technique. Wrapped in a purple aura, she declares she will face her opponent head-on. He unleashes the atomic breath, a massive blast of blue energy. In response, the warrior lets out a cry and unleashes her bloodline ability, launching countless underworld blood thorns. The attacks slice through the air at high speed, about to collide in the center of the arena. Outside, the announcer panics, realizing the collision is beyond the two competitors' control. Mayor Huang King acts quickly, activating a genetic technique. From the ground, an immense energy barrier rises, the ley line divine wall. The attacks crash against the wall, creating a blinding explosion of light. The audience reacts in shock, trying to understand what happened, and if it was the mayor who protected them. As the smoke begins to clear, everyone realizes his action prevented a tragedy. Huang King observes the arena in silence. He thinks to himself that the walls were hastily erected and that no one expected such powerful candidates. Amidst the dust, a hand falls limply. Liu Qingzhu lies on the ground, severely injured. The power of her magical beast form is completely depleted. Even so, she refuses to give up. She believes she can still fight. He approaches with slow steps and stops before her. Qingzhu remains seated amidst the wreckage of the arena. He warns her that if she doesn't eliminate the nuclear radiation from her body, she'll end up crippled. The warning hangs in the air. She remains silent, processing his words. Suddenly, tears break through her control. She screams that she never wanted to fight like that and asks why he forced her to. He kneels, coming face to face with her. In a calm voice, he asks if she really didn't want to fight or if she was just being stubborn because he sensed her desire to win. Qingzhu's gaze wavers. She doesn't know what to say. She thinks for a moment and realizes he's right. In the heat of battle, she felt the thrill of fighting for herself without any restrictions. Her face flushes with shame as she confronts her own truth. He extends his hand and channels healing energy over her wounds. He says she gets too distracted by her own thoughts during a fight. He then stands up. He states that's why she lost. Qingzhu realizes, surprised, that her injuries and the radiation have already vanished. As he walks away, he admits that she's still the strongest opponent he has ever faced. Before leaving completely, he turns back with a slight smile. He says that next time he expects a pure battle. The blush returns to her face. She remains motionless, watching him leave, still stunned. The smoke on the field begins to dissipate, revealing Yi standing in the center of the arena, with his arm raised in victory. The announcer declares the end of the first semifinal. He is the winner. After Yi's victory, Chu Zhao also wins his match, and the fight for first place is about to begin. The final showdown is announced. Yi, the dark horse, versus Chu Zhao, the favorite known as Apex. The broadcast viewership explodes, nearing 50 million viewers. The finals begin. Surrounded by an icy aura, Chu Zhao invites him to attack. He gives a savage grin and challenges him to come in with everything he's got. Chu Zhao lunges forward at high speed, but Yi remains still and activates the 7-star steps technique. He gathers his energy, preparing the atomic fist. With a shout, he unleashes the explosive strike, generating a powerful shockwave. Chu Zhao reappears and realizes his opponent attacked all the copies instead of searching for the real one. Facing the crater left by the impact, he admits he can't face him on equal terms and calls him a monster. With a glint in his eye, he decides to wear him down by fighting from a distance. Then he awakens his bloodline and the image of an ice dragon appears behind him. He unleashes the ice pulse, covering the entire arena with sharp spikes that sprout from the ground. The power is so intense it forms a gigantic iceberg, freezing Yi inside it. Chu Zhao feels the strain of the attack and is exhausted by the icy blast. Suddenly, an intense light shines from within the block of ice, which begins to melt. The iceberg shatters into pieces in an eruption of flaming energy. Chu Zhao is shocked, unable to believe he escaped so easily. Among the debris, Yudi faces his opponent as another blast of ice is launched. The blue sphere rushes forward but effortlessly dissipates. Yi steps onto the frozen ground and says the ice dragon's power never worked on him. In his full armor, he states he has a clear advantage in the fight. Chu Zhao lowers his gaze, acknowledging that the gap between them is too wide. He raises his face and announces he will use his final move, a technique he was saving for Liu Qingzhu. An immense sword of pure ice energy forms before him. Mayor Huang King recognizes the dreaded soul-reaving sword intent. Chu Zhao launches the sword in a final desperate attack. In his beast form, Yi holds the broken ice sword and says that when his opponent gets a better weapon, he might have a chance. Chu Zhao stares at him, shocked and breathless. The shards of the sword melt on the ground. He asks what kind of chance he would have. He smiles and replies that maybe it's a slightly better chance than becoming a successful simp. Chu Zhao raises his arm and declares his surrender. The announcer declares Yi the grand winner of the ancient entrance exam finals. His friends celebrate euphorically, shouting that he was right all along. On social media, a post goes viral saying the dark horse truly was a dark horse to the very end. The city is filled with billboards featuring Yahello's image, celebrated as the student who went from the bottom of the class to become the strongest in Ancient's history. In the arena, the entire crowd chants his name in unison. The announcer officially declares that after 3 days of colossal battles, the top scorer of the entrance exam has finally been born. A reporter approaches and asks what Yi has to say about his journey to the top. With a nervous and emotional expression, he begins by thanking his teacher for never giving up on him. On the other side of the screen, the teacher hugs the TV and cries, feeling guilty for not realizing the student's potential sooner. He tries to continue his speech but stops when he sees the school principal gesturing frantically in the audience. The principal enthusiastically announces that he will receive a $2 million scholarship for promoting the institution's name. With dollar signs in his eyes, Yi thanks the school and praises the principal's wise leadership. Then he raises his fist and shouts that he wants to thank himself for all his hard work and genius. A system notification appears, congratulating him on the title of top student and rewarding him with a random model ability. His blue eyes shine with surprise as he realizes the model also has an achievement system. Later, in the stadium hallway, the crowds have thinned out. As soon as Yi steps out, a mob of reporters surrounds him, firing off questions about his victory and his future. One of them even shows him photos of Liu Qingzhu and Kai Xiaoling, asking which one he prefers, much to Yi's disgust. With no patience for interviews, he forces his way through the crowd and starts running down the hallways. After a while, he manages to lose them in an empty basketball court. Alone, he celebrates in relief, excited by the discovery that he can get new models through the system's rewards. Suddenly, a dark voice congratulates him on his victory. He is startled, thinking it's another reporter. The man introduces himself, saying he's not from the press, but someone from Huadu. He gets closer and says he wants to talk about genetic locks. He is shocked to hear the term. Confused, he remembers his powers came from the monster model and tries to figure out who this man is and how he knows so much. The visitor asks if he heard that expression from his father, and he confirms based on the original body's memories. The man then questions how an ordinary taxi driver would know a term so far outside his field. Yi's eyes widen at the possibility of a huge secret behind all this. The man hands him an envelope explaining that due to his special situation, Huadu can release a confidential document. Surprised, Yi opens the envelope and starts to read. The paper talks about Prometheus, an old genetic research institute whose scientists were forced into hiding after an incident. He wonders aloud if the theory is that his father was a senior researcher at Prometheus, and he is the secret result of that research. The man reassures him, saying that since he's involved, he has the right to know the truth. He also guarantees that, as a high-value prospect for the country, his safety will be a top priority. He grimaces, thinking about how fame only attracts more trouble and how society adapts way too quickly. The man says his goodbyes and leaves, leaving him alone on the court. He takes a deep breath and goes back to celebrating, pleased with his exam results, and even more so with the chance to draw a new model ability. Without wasting any time, he activates the gacha system to receive his reward. A sphere of dark, purple energy forms in front of him. With his eyes gleaming, he watches the energy writhe. A card shrouded in a dark aura emerges from the portal. From it, a gigantic blue skeletal humanoid appears, a D-rank model. On the system screen, the details of the new supergiant humanoid model appear with abilities for gigantification and superheated steam. His eyes widen as he realizes the model's abilities can overlap. He wonders what the result of combining his two powers would be. With the image of a colossal monster rising behind him, he declares that he will become the true king of monsters. Elsewhere, a man named Hu Long cancels all his future appointments for personal reasons. He crushes his phone with a single finger. His face twists in fury, and his purple eyes glow with a frightening intensity. An investigator in a hazmat suit informs him they haven't found his brother's body in the secret realm. On a screen, Huolong watches a video showing the moment his brother is hit by his radiation blast. He regrets that his brother didn't listen to his warnings, the same younger brother he had promised his mother he would protect. Watching the recording, he comments that it's a shame the universities won't witness his enrollment. Back in his dorm, Yi is notified that he has a delivery. He picks up an envelope, wondering who would have sent him something right as he was about to test his new model. Opening it, he finds a letter from Chu Zhao inviting him to explore a new secret realm rift that will open that afternoon. He grimaces, wondering what era his classmate is living in to still be using letters, and if he might be a time traveler. On Redwood Mountain, the sun sets, painting the sky in shades of red and orange. A crowd of warriors and adventurers gathers, eagerly awaiting the opening of the new secret realm. Among them, Xu Zhao waves to Yi, who has just arrived. He comments that his friend looks stronger, and he replies with a smile that he used the prize money to increase his new model's compatibility. Then he asks which university he plans to attend. Xu Zhao says it'll be Huadu University, and he realizes they'll still be classmates. At that moment, the sky tears open. A gigantic rift of purple energy rips open, radiating light across the entire mountain. From within it, a shadowy creature of absurd proportions emerges, a monster with multiple heads and glowing green eyes. The three-headed creature roars at the crowd of warriors gathered on the mountain. One of the leaders shouts for his comrades to defeat the monster and enter the secret realm. Dozens of warriors charge the creature, ready for battle. The monster panics at the number of enemies and tries to retreat, only to get stuck in the crevice. An explosion of purple feathers fills the air, and the creature is brought down by the hunters. Inside the secret realm of Redwood Mountain, the forest stretches out, covered in red-leafed trees. Yi, Chuzhao, and other warriors follow the trails between the trees. Suddenly, Yi catches a strong scent in the air. He realizes it's a tide of beasts, monsters that have been lying in wait for some time. The warriors prepare to fight, and one of them orders them to prioritize eliminating the monsters and containing the onslaught. The battle begins with brutal clashes between hunters and creatures. Chuzhao activates his bloodline ability. With his ice sword, he finishes off a few wolves. He dodges a monster with red eyes and sharp claws. Yi charges forward with the explosive atomic fist and defeats the creature. He warns Chuzhao about what's coming from behind, and the boy thanks him. The two look out over a field covered in bones and conclude that none of these beasts are worth the effort. Chuzhao turns and is shocked by the pile accumulated around Yi. He realizes the monsters were melted by large-scale radiation. Surrounded by a blue aura, Yi prepares to attack again. Further back, a group of warriors comments on how the fight in the rear ended so quickly. One of them explains it's because of the gunner from Anqing. Another doubts his student could have done that, but his companion retorts that the young man could take down 10 like him. The warriors start pushing the remaining monsters toward Yi. Suddenly, a signal comes from the front line. The leader of the tide has been defeated. The horde begins to retreat. The survivors regroup, and Chuzhao realizes that out of thousands, only 800 warriors remain, many of them wounded. Panting, Yahi approaches, carrying a giant bag full of monsters. Chuzhao offers his storage ring to hold everything, and Yi is impressed by the boy's wealth. They see a group of warriors returning, and the others comment that without their help, they would have collapsed from exhaustion. The crowd gathers around the leader who has just arrived. He introduces himself as Wu Sen, leader of the Silver Wolf martial arts group. He invites Yi to join them, offering an ace-level member contract. The surrounding warriors are impressed, knowing it's a rare and valuable opportunity. Suddenly, a woman appears riding a tiger of purple flames and accuses Wu Sen of trying to poach talent. She makes her own proposal, offering Yi 15% of the monthly training resources. The crowd is even more shocked to realize that the two largest martial arts groups are competing over a high school student. Yi politely declines, saying that for now he has no plans to join any group. Wu Sen accepts his decision, shakes his hand, and makes it clear that the door will always be open in the future. After everyone disperses, Chuzhao suggests they climb the trees to survey the area and make a plan. The two of them shoot up at high speed to the top of the forest. They land in the canopy and gaze at the vastness of the secret realm. Chuzhao spots something on the horizon and asks, his face tense, what it is. The silhouette of a colossal creature, larger than the mountains, rises over the forest. With a wild smile, he says that one day they will hunt beasts like that and uncover the truth of these realms. Chuzhao watches him, impressed by his confidence in the face of such a powerful and unknown being. He recognizes that Yi surpasses him not only in martial arts, but also in willpower. He activates his vital magnetic field and scans the area. He detects a vacuum zone to the southeast, completely devoid of life signs. He remembers the saying that where there's smoke are valuable fish, associating danger with great rewards. Pointing in the direction of the anomaly, he calls Chuzhao to investigate the lake there, determined to bet big. They arrive at the shore of a crystal clear lake surrounded by dark, twisted trees. With a smile, Yi waves to someone he recognizes as Sister Yuli, leaving Chuzhao confused. Three warriors are on the shore and ask Yuli to introduce the famous gunner from Anqing. Yi approaches and asks how long they've been there. Yuli explains they just arrived and sent two companions to explore the lake. Two group members emerge from the water, agitated. One of them shouts with euphoria that he found a relic at the bottom of the lake and that they're all going to be rich. The group celebrates the discovery, overcome with excitement. Yi asks what relics are, and Chuzhao explains they are mysterious buildings from ancient civilizations, from which modern martial arts originate. One of the warriors notices their presence and stares with suspicion. He accuses them of spying, but Yuli interrupts, explaining that they are the first and second place winners of the Anqing exam. She suggests they join the group as both have above average strength. The man asks how the spoils will be divided, and Yi proposes that everything be split based on each person's contribution. He reluctantly agrees, thinking it's better to avoid friction with future important figures. The group dives into the icy waters to explore the relic. They swim through an underwater cave and reach an inner chamber with ancient ruins. One of the warriors wonders where Lai Wei is, the companion who is supposed to be on guard. The leader tries to call him on the communicator, but gets no response. He asks if the duo who explored the lake saw any sign of monsters, but they say not even the bait attracted any creatures. The girl in sunglasses shows concern, thinking the place is too dangerous to continue. Yu Yang, the group's leader, shouts that glory doesn't come to cowards and challenges anyone who's afraid to leave. No one moves. The group advances together through a narrow, dark passage in the cave. Ahead, strange footprints appear on the damp ground. Yi observes the scene with a feeling that something is wrong. He communicates silently with Chuzhao, pointing out that their story doesn't add up. He explains that they found the cave too quickly, as if they had a map or some hidden trick. Chuzhou suggests they warn Yuli and get out of there. He reassures him, saying he has an ace up his sleeve. The group arrives in a cavernous chamber filled with green vines and tentacles. They find the skeleton of a beast and a dull monster core, realizing that all the creatures in the place were devoured long ago. Yuli approaches Yu Yang and questions him about the relic he mentioned. One of the women in the group points upward, terrified. Lai Wei's body was trapped in the vines. Yuli and the other girl stare at the scene, horrified. Yu Yang collapses to his knees, screaming about the missing relic. Another warrior panics upon seeing vines growing on his body and warns the others to run. He is struck as an eruption of green tentacles occurs. The survivors freeze, realizing they might also be infected. A sphere of blue light crosses the air and hits one of the warriors. He vanishes instantly, and everyone is in shock. He watches, impressed by the monster's intelligence. He realizes the creature used one of the warriors' data as bait to lure new prey into its territory. Tentacles emerge from the water and block the passage they entered through, cutting off their escape route. Chuzhou recognizes the creature from his studies, the Phantom Demon Vine, a second-level king-class beast. Yuli panics at the revelation, but Yu Yang furiously shouts that he doesn't care about the level and tells everyone to pulverize the thing. He gives an insane smile and declares that he came to defeat it. A colossal explosion shakes the chamber. A muscular man emerges from the smoke, and the warriors recognize him as an 8th-level combatant. He stares at the man with irony and asks if anyone is still rooting for him. The warrior explains that after hearing about the use of nuclear radiation, he knew he would be in the secret realm and started following him. He reveals that he tracked him to the cave but was blocked at the entrance. With a confused look, he asks who he is since he's never seen him before. The man gets angry, yells at him to stop pretending, and lunges forward to attack. The monster's vines wrap around his body, and he realizes he's been lured into the creature's lair. Angrily, he wonders if this was all part of Yui's plan. As he fights the energy-draining vines, he curses for falling into a trap, leaving Yui even more confused. Furious, he unleashes an explosion and shouts that his real target is Yahi. The force of the detonation makes the entire cave shake and begin to collapse. Yuli screams in terror for everyone to get out of the way. He activates his giant model, and a blue aura with electric sparks envelops his body. He throws a devastating punch and shockwaves ripple through the water. The blow shatters the cave wall, opening an escape route. He grabs Yuli and orders her and the others to leave first. The 8th-level warrior unleashes his soul-damaging sword Intent, determined not to let Yehi escape. Chuzhou appears in front of him and blocks the attack with his ice blade. He warns that as long as he's there, no one will touch Yehi. The man laughs with contempt, finding it impossible that such a weak blow could hit someone of his level. Suddenly, Yehi appears behind him and calls him a chatterbox, asking where he's looking. He lands an explosive atomic fist and sends him flying. The force of the impact tears through the cave. He tells Chuzhou to get out because the enemy is too strong for him right now. Chuzhou refuses to retreat and asks to handle the opponent himself. Outside the cave, Yuli and the others see the lake water churning violently. She runs to Chuzhou, who has just emerged, and asks where Yahi is. He looks back with a tense expression without saying a word. Deep in the lake, an eruption of blue energy explodes. An ice titan emerges from the water holding the body of the 8th-level warrior. The man is severely injured, covered in burns, while Chuzhou and the others watch in shock. Outside, a massive explosion of lightning and energy erupts from the bottom of the lake, illuminating the entire area. Then, Yui emerges from the water and asks Chuzhou to lend him some clothes. Once dressed, he explains that the mysterious warrior used a plasma bomb to self-destruct. Chuzhou frowns, saying the explosion seemed much stronger than a plasma bomb, and that he saw a giant's silhouette in the smoke. Relieved to have fooled them, Yui admits to himself that he overdid it with the force and ended up destroying the enemy. But at least he got the Vine's magic core. Yuli and her group thank him for saving them and promise compensation, but he refuses. With a sinister smile, Yi tells Chuzhou that now it's time to defeat the real monsters. 3 days later, the two cross the exit portal of the secret realm. They land outside and look up, surprised by the place's transformation. In just a few days, the region has turned into a bustling small town, with transport planes crossing the skies. At the evaluation center, he throws a huge bag of loot onto the counter and tells the attendant to be careful. He smiles and warns that he brought a lot of stuff, so they'll have a hard time finishing the appraisal by noon if they don't hurry up. He starts emptying his storage ring. One bag after another piles up on the floor, forming an impressive heap. When he tosses the last bag, the appraiser turns pale at the absurd amount of goods. She stammers, asking if he's finally done unloading everything. With a sly smile, Yi confirms and urges her to hurry, saying he still has many spiritual medicines to take out. At the evaluation center, a group of appraisers examines the spiritual medicines, impressed by the rarity and value of the plants. He watches the scene, thinking that since low-quality magic cores no longer have any effect on him, he could trade them all for money. He reflects on his biggest gains: the 3rd-level monster cores and the green core of the demonic vine. After receiving a bank deposit of over 270 million, he leaves the place in search of a buyer for his medicines. Outside, a luxury car screeches to a halt in front of him. An older man approaches and introduces himself as Lei Yushin, owner of the Penguin Pharmacy, offering to buy his medicines for an above-market price. He realizes his information was leaked by the evaluation center, but accepts the offer for convenience. After the transaction, Lei Yushin bids him a cordial farewell, asking to be sought out if he finds more items in the future. Checking his bank balance, Yi sees it has surpassed 700 million, but recognizes that no amount of money can compare to his own strength. He sighs, aware that his model has increasingly high demands, and that he won't be able to supply it with money alone. Suddenly, he has an idea. There is another way to get stronger: martial arts. He reflects that although he won the exam, his combat techniques still don't match the level of true masters. Determined, he runs off toward his old school, yelling that he's going to get some gold coins. Upon arriving at the director's office, he is greeted with a cup of tea. The director greets him formally, but Yi interrupts, saying there's no need for such ceremony. He gives the director some medicinal wine, explaining it's a way to show respect for his elders. The director smiles, praising his good character. Then Yi reveals his true goal. He wishes to learn powerful martial arts and asks for help in finding a family willing to teach him. With firm, determined eyes, he pleads for a chance to improve. The director, impressed, agrees to introduce him to someone. He praises the director's wisdom, and they both laugh, satisfied with the agreement. The next day, while Yi is training, the director calls to inform him that he has already made the arrangements. He reveals that the Liu family of Anqing is willing to teach him their secrets, leaving Yi surprised by the news. On the outskirts of the city, a couple speeds along an empty road on motorcycle. The woman praises the speed, and the driver boasts of having something even more impressive. Suddenly, Yi pulls up beside them on a bicycle and warns the man not to get distracted at high speed. The driver gets startled and curses at him, mocking his bicycle and challenging him to a race. He twists the throttle, ready to take off. The motorcycle shoots forward, leaving Yi behind in a cloud of smoke. He just watches the scene with a bored expression. The couple on the motorcycle is startled when they notice an intense blue light approaching rapidly. Wrapped in energy, Yi overtakes them on his super-fast bike, waving and saying, "See ya." The bicycle disappears in a trail of blue light. The two are left dumbfounded, unable to believe that a simple shared bike could reach a speed almost equal to that of an airplane. Upon reaching his destination, Yi parks the bike and observes, impressed, the magnificent mansion before him, imposing, luxurious, and worthy of a martial arts family. He activates his magnetic field to scan the surroundings and detects the presence of several powerful beings scattered throughout the property. At the gate, Liu Qingzhu awaits him and greets him with a wave. He teases her, asking if she isn't happy to see him, and she replies, a little nervous, that her mother sent her to receive him. As they walk through the garden, he notices a gardener trimming the hedge with giant shears. They enter the mansion through an ornate and imposing door. Liu Qingzhu announces his arrival to her mother. At the top of a grand staircase, an elegant woman with white hair descends gracefully, welcoming him. Yi stares at her with a red face, completely captivated by her beauty. After the exams at the Liu family mansion, Liu Qingzhu stands before her mother, who is seated on the sofa. With a nervous expression, she tries to speak. The woman raises a hand, telling her not to be nervous. She says she watched the fight and that her daughter did very well, also praising Yi's strength. Liu Qingzhu remains silent, visibly embarrassed. Her mother explains that since her brother has limited talent, she is the only one capable of shouldering the family's responsibility. She lifts her daughter's face and reminds her of her beauty. In a serious tone, she warns that without the support of a master, the family could be forced into an arranged marriage and lose everything. She then proposes to unite the two, leaving Liu Qingzhu completely shocked. She comments that he is a young man of exceptional talent and a bright future, but with a dangerous ambition. Shortly after, he arrives at the mansion and greets the matriarch, offering a small gift. She mentions having heard about his interest in learning advanced martial arts. He is surprised by how quickly she agreed to help him. The woman explains that Liu Qingzhu will take him to the family's martial arts pavilion, where he'll have a full day to learn what he can. She also informs him that there are 3 Xuanwu martial arts on site, and his success will depend solely on his own ability. He bows in gratitude and makes a formal promise to the Liu family. The matriarch smiles, pleased with his promise and confident he will keep it. She remarks that he's a clever child, leaving Liu Qingzhu confused and Yi uncomfortable with her gaze. The two walk through a stone corridor, the tension between them almost palpable. He confronts her, asking why she seems to be avoiding his gaze, but she denies it. He steps closer with a provocative smile and asks if that's really true. She backs away, embarrassed and annoyed by his boldness, and he laughs at her reaction. They arrive at a massive, imposing door. Liu Qingzhu explains that the structure is made of a special stone capable of dissolving the attack power of a Xuanwu master. With a curious glance, she allows him to try, wondering why he doesn't seem more impressed by the material. He concentrates blue energy into his fist and prepares to strike. The sight of his attack awakens bad memories for Liu Qingzhu. He unleashes a powerful punch that echoes throughout the chamber, but the door doesn't move. He steps back, surprised to see that not even a crack has appeared. He complains that the blow felt like it sank into mud and that over 90% of his strength was absorbed, while Liu Qingzhu laughs at his failure. She guides him inside the pavilion and explains that the martial arts are divided into categories which can be accessed with an identity card. The two proceed to a small stone room in the deepest part where they need to scan the card again to enter. She warns him that it's impossible to comprehend Xuanwang martial arts in just one day and suggests he choose something more suitable. Yeah, he smiles and teases her, asking if she's worried about him, which annoys her. She approaches a panel and enters a password, explaining that the room is extremely secure. The door opens, revealing the entrance to a secret room. Inside, 3 immense vaults guard the Liu family's secrets. On one of them, the name "The Devil in Flesh and Bone" is engraved. Liu Qingzhu explains that the key to mastering Xuanwang arts is to sense the martial rhyme left by its creator. With a maniacal grin, Yi declares that the devil in flesh and bone is perfect for him, claims to be the one chosen for that art. The vault door opens and he steps into a dark chamber. He looks up surprised by what he sees. He realizes the Xuanwang martial art isn't a book, but a statue. He sits before the statue trying to sense the martial rhyme. He wonders if he's truly entered the world of the rhyme, surprised that the art is a simple statue. Liu Qingzhu explains that statues, paintings, or even utensils can serve as vessels for the martial rhyme. She reveals that only martial masters can condense this essence into objects to pass it down to future generations. She says that from this point on, everything depends on him. But He complains that she didn't explain how to learn. She simply replies that he must sense the martial rhyme, stating that if he is destined for it, he will understand. Completely confused, he stares at her, lost by the vague instructions. Annoyed, he decides to take a nap and lies down. From the observation room, Liu Qingzhu watches, frustrated by his relaxed attitude. Inside the spiritual world, he realizes his body has reverted to that of an ordinary person, but his monster template is still present. A muscular, ghostly figure appears, declaring that only a true man can inherit his martial arts. The entity challenges him to prove he is a true man of iron. He is shocked to realize the figure is identical to the statue. The spirit orders him to protect the temple from hundreds of ghosts during a storm. The scene shifts to a dark corner of the temple, where a spider web covered in dewdrops glistens. A drop falls on his face and he realizes it has started to rain. The Bodhisattva statue stares at him and he understands the test has begun. He picks up a nearby sword in the temple. Outside, a horde of red-eyed ghosts advances through the storm. With the sword in hand, he prepares for battle. The ghosts invade the temple, rushing toward him. He cuts down the first one with a firm strike and sees the blade gleam. He realizes the test wouldn't leave him to fight unarmed, and that there must be other hidden items. He leaps through the temple, cutting down the ghosts with precision. The spirit watches everything, mocking him for daring to leave the temple's protection. He grumbles, saying he has to collect the ghost bodies every time. He expertly cuts down his enemies, moving with agility across the battlefield. A larger ghost rushes forward to attack him. He splits it with a precise strike. The statue's spirit is surprised to see that none of the ghosts can even get close to him. He realizes that his system automatically protects him in the spiritual world, making him immune to the attacks. With a shout of euphoria, he celebrates having an invincible body in this place. He charges forward without fear and easily eliminates all the remaining ghosts. The spirit watches, shocked, unable to understand how he isn't affected by the martial rhyme's effects. He, with a smug smile, explains there's no secret, just hard work and constant practice. The spirit accepts his answer and decides to grant him the inheritance, since he has subjugated the hundreds of ghosts. Then Yi shatters the Bodhisattva statue with a single blow. In its place, a pit appears, emitting an intense red light. The spirit reveals that the pit contains the essence of the evil spirit he condensed in life, along with the devil in flesh and bone technique. He then hurls He into the pit. Impressed, he remarks that it's the first time he's seen a young man with such a unique personality. As he watches, he recalls his prime when he was a hero capable of traversing an S-level secret realm. He explains that he lived and died using the devil in flesh and bone technique, but over time, the evil spirits eventually turned against him. Before dying, he mixed his soul with the martial rhyme and sealed it inside the statue. He explains that although the evil spirits have dissipated, the remaining power is still immense, and if He can subdue them, he will surpass his former self. Back in the observation room, Liu Qingzhu and her mother are monitoring his progress. Suddenly, Liu Qingzhu's face fills with astonishment as she notices a drastic change on the screen. She turns to her mother, alarmed, and asks what's happening as she sees Yi's body writhing on the floor. They watch the screen with concern. Liu Qingzhu remarks that he had a smug smile on his face before passing out, but that's over now. The mother explains that martial art was obtained by her grandfather, who, despite being a grandmaster, was rejected by the statue and suffered severe internal injuries. She concludes that the path to extraordinary power is unbearable for ordinary people. But before she can finish her sentence, something on the screen surprises her. He stands up and stretches, raising his hands as if nothing happened. Liu Qingzhu remarks that his ordeal didn't seem nearly as dramatic as her mother made it out to be. In the spiritual world, he thanks the statue's spirit, who praises him as the most talented he's ever seen and entrusts him with his unfinished task. With a cunning smile, He accuses him of cheating during the test. He clenches his fists, feeling his combat power has doubled, even with no apparent increase in his stats. The two women rush into the room and ask if he managed to learn the technique. With a confident smile and a slight nod, he confirms that he did. Liu Qingzhu's mother is shocked, unable to understand how he learned everything in just an hour, and while sleeping no less. As he walks away, Liu Qingzhu watches him, convinced that a true genius is standing right before her. Seeing their disbelief, he turns around with a provocative smile and offers to demonstrate what he learned. He unleashes a flaming blue aura, explaining it's the evil spirit he conquered in the martial rhyme world. He concentrates the energy into his fist. Liu Qingzu feels the ground shake and hears a ghostly howl echo through the room. Her mother stares at him, clearly impressed. Yi feels uncomfortable with the attention, thinking she should be a little more reserved. Liu Qingzu then offers him the chance to learn the other two martial arts. Her mother scolds her outraged, questioning why she would give away the entire family inheritance. But Yi refuses, saying he's tired and wants to go home. The matriarch suggests he use one of the cars from the garage since he arrived by bicycle. He remembers the motorcycle he saw earlier and asks if she has one. She confirms and offers to give him the best one from her son's collection. Outside the mansion, a young man walks by, curious to meet the son-in-law his mother mentioned. He grumbles about the annoying cyclist who scared his girlfriend earlier. Suddenly, Yi speeds past him on the motorcycle. The young man is shocked to recognize him as the same cyclist from before, now riding his bike. Later that night, Yi parks the new motorcycle in front of his house. Inside, he prepares the monster cores he collected, combining them with sauces and seasonings. He decides to add a bit more sauce to improve the flavor, remembering it didn't taste good at all last time. With his chopsticks, he picks up one of the blue crystals and puts it in his mouth. The system screen shows an increase in his stats, but he realizes it's still small compared to the creatures of the secret realm. Determined, he decides he needs to grow stronger and allocates all of his points to the giant model. Next, he prepares to consume the golden core of the demonic vine. As soon as he absorbs it, his body is enveloped in an intense blue aura, and the system warns of an ongoing mutation. He frowns, not quite understanding what that means. He thinks about the risks, knowing a mutation could result in something powerful or a disastrous evolution. Still, he decides to take the risk, comparing the situation to turning a bicycle into a motorcycle. Soon, a notification appears congratulating him for unlocking the S-rank nuclear model. He screams in pain as the transformation takes over his body. The system informs him that upon reaching 100% compatibility, there's a chance to evolve into the Demora Star universe. With an excited smile, he repeats the name out loud, finding it incredibly powerful, and decides he needs to upgrade the model as soon as possible. Suddenly, a loud bang from outside catches his attention. He turns, stares at the window, and wonders what's happening or if it might be some kind of attack. Outside, heavily armed police forces surround the park, blocking all exits. Suddenly, a knock on the door puts him on alert. He frowns, suspicious, remembering that the previous owner of this body was a recluse who never had visitors. Soon, a woman in a futuristic battle suit enters through the window, observing him with curiosity and remarking that he's definitely no ordinary martial artist. With a cold smile, she threatens him, saying that now that she's been discovered, she'll have to make him suffer a little. He, however, completely ignores her and starts talking to himself about buying another house, leaving her confused. With an intense gaze, he points at her and declares with a mocking smile, "You're not here anymore." Meanwhile, outside, the battle rages on. The police are facing a powerful and unpredictable enemy. One of the targets reveals an opening, and the forces move in to capture him. Wounded, the man yells for his partner, Yahello, to take the golden gene and run. Resolute, he sacrifices himself, activating a forbidden technique to hold off the police alone. The woman, now wearing a black battle suit, tries to escape but is quickly intercepted by new enemies. She laments the suit's color change, but the man scolds her for wasting time on it. With a steady gaze, she hides the valuable item, and the two escape through a manhole. The pair emerges in a dark, abandoned city alley, celebrating that they've lost their pursuers. The man notices her nano armor has already started to regenerate. Suddenly, Yi appears before them, approaching calmly. He stares at the woman and asks why she broke into his house. With a sinister smile, he warns her that she picked the wrong neighbor to bother. Startled, the man shouts, demanding to know how he found them. He explains matter-of-factly that he can feel the nuclear radiation emanating from her body. Then he moves forward, excited to test his new technique. Demon in the flesh. The man tries to defend himself but is immediately overwhelmed by a crushing force. The blow hits him head-on, sending him flying amidst a blast of energy. He spits, gravely injured, but has no time to recover. Yugi is already on top of him again, delivering a series of fast and devastating attacks. The woman watches it all, impressed by the speed and power of his martial arts. He boasts that he's a disciple of the legendary Emperor Guangla, which leaves the woman confused and surprised by the number of hidden masters in the city. The fallen man warns him not to be so arrogant. Then he slowly rises, his body beginning to distort until it reveals his true monstrous form. With a roar, he declares that as a 6th-level martial artist, he won't be defeated so easily. The creature stomps its foot hard on the ground, creating a powerful shockwave that cracks the pavement. Moments later, it charges forward at high speed, ready to crush Yagi, but he just smiles, clenching his fists and saying that now the fight has gotten interesting. Suddenly, the woman reappears in stealth mode, emerging behind him. She was the real attacker all along. However, before she can land the blow, he reacts in an instant, firing a beam of energy that hits her squarely. The impact sends her flying into a wall, destroying part of the structure. The monster laments his partner's failed ambush and growls, annoyed, saying he'll have to handle this himself. He faces him with a confident smile, adjusting his combat stance. The monster fires a powerful energy blast, but he blocks it with ease. Surprised, the enemy's eyes widen as he realizes how much his defensive power has increased. The creature then boasts, proudly revealing its true identity, an iron-crowned rhinoceros, and challenges him to try and break its impenetrable defense. He intercepts one of the horns with his arm, locking them in a brutal clash of forces. With a furious cry, the monster attacks again, roaring that he's going to send him straight to hell. The rhino turns toward the smoke, mocking his opponent's arrogance. He looks around confused, unable to find Yui anywhere. Suddenly, he senses a presence and looks up, shocked. A colossal, monstrous figure appears before him, shrouded in smoke and lightning. He screams in terror, unsure if it's a demonic beast or if Yui is transformed. The giant attacks with tentacles of blue energy. The impact hurls him backward. He tries to fight back, but is hit head-on by the massive attack. The blow smashes him into the ground, creating a crater. The giant focuses energy into its fist and fires a blue skull-shaped sphere. A system screen displays Yui's status in his ultra-gigantic form. The woman watches the battle, shocked by the overwhelming power. She regrets provoking a monster like him. She realizes she can't escape, and that if the fight continues, her partner will be defeated. She watches the giant from atop a building, preparing her next move. She launches into the air, spinning threads of orange energy around her body. The nano armor's molecular threads latch onto the giant's face, strong enough to cut through metal. She yells that even as a giant, he still has human weaknesses. The thread slices through the creature and its head slumps to the side. She lands on the ground, exhausted, unsure if she succeeded, but the body still fires a beam of energy. The woman looks up terrified as the beam approaches. She stammers the word monster before being engulfed by the light. The last image in her mind is the infinite blue globe destroying everything around her. The smoke from the explosion slowly dissipates. He, back in human form, walks through the rubble. He approaches the man's injured body. With a cold gaze, he says it's his turn now. The man glares at him, defeated, and calls him a monster. He replies that it's only fair for those who killed to be prepared to die. In the distance, police lights flash in the dark alley. The injured man decides that if he's going down, he's taking Yi with him. He reveals that the woman hid the golden gene in his room. With a maniacal smile, he warns that Yi will now be hunted forever. He cuts him off with a kick, saying he talks too much. He realizes he needs to get rid of it before the police arrive. He looks at the destroyed building and regrets going too far this time. Back at his apartment, he sits on the floor. He sends a message to Liu Qingzhu's mother, asking about the police interrogation. She advises him to lay low until university classes start, and he reassures her. He thinks it was a good idea to have given her a heads up. He picks up the device containing the golden gene. He recognizes the symbol on the object, the logo of Laserbird, a biotech giant. He concludes the pair had stolen the item and were being hunted while on the run. He remembers the man's words and understands that all the trouble has now fallen on him. Looking through the broken window, he decides it's time to move. He goes to a hotel, ready to figure out what to do next. Meanwhile, inside a secret realm known as Swan Lake, a group of warriors harvest materials from the body of a defeated beast. Suddenly, one of the members turns, startled, saying something is wrong. A wave of dark, crackling energy surges forward, consuming the landscape with roars. From the darkness, an enraged horde of demonic monsters emerges. The creatures advance en masse, destroying everything in their path. In the distance, a gigantic figure rests on a makeshift throne atop a trail of destruction. It is a 5th-level sovereign beast, a colossal wolf with dark fur and red eyes. The warriors panic, shouting to warn the military about the beast hide. The enormous wolf stares at the battlefield. Its red eye glows with power. It opens its mouth and gathers a sphere of purple energy. The creature fires multiple projectiles that bombard the ground amidst the chaos. One of the warriors screams for reinforcements into his communicator. In an instant, his arm is gone and the call for help is lost. The blood-eyed Sin Wolf rises to its full height and lets out a devastating roar. With the roar, the horde's leader orders a full advance. The army of monsters marches toward a dimensional portal opening in the sky. On the other side, the portal appears over Anqing City. Civilians look up, terrified by the anomaly. An alert announces that the beast tide will arrive in 20 minutes. The military forces are already on the move. Soldiers march through the streets as an emergency summons calls all martial artists to the front lines. At the ancient train station, an announcement asks citizens to remain calm and orderly. During the evacuation, children and students have priority. They are the city's future. In the mayor's office, Guan King is informed that no reinforcements are coming. All cities are overwhelmed with invasion alerts. His assistant confirms that no one is coming to help as even the safe zones are focused on their own defenses. Desperate, the mayor asks if the neighboring city of Huadu can't send at least one grandmaster. He collapses into his chair upon hearing that Huadu is facing an even greater threat and has mobilized all its forces. His face etched with tension, he stands and declares that the battle for Anqing will depend on them alone. Meanwhile, at a training center, 2 fighters face off in an intense match. Xu Zhao moves in, preparing to deliver a decisive blow. The punch, charged with blue energy, strikes his opponent's face hard. The light blue-haired fighter slides back but manages to keep his balance. Xu Zhao smirks at him, praising him for withstanding the hit. After training, they talk about Xu Zhao's rapid progress, noting he's gotten terrifyingly strong in just 1 month. Mid-conversation, his expression changes. An emergency alert flashes on the city panel. His friend shows him the evacuation order on his phone. which prioritizes students and asks if he plans to leave. Shuju calmly replies that his friend with his talent is the one who should flee to safety. The other grins, excited, saying that if they're staying, there's only one thing left to do. Meanwhile, at the Liu family mansion, the sky takes on an ominous red hue. Liu Qingzhu approaches her mother, Qinlan, and says she wants to join the defense forces. Qinlan explains the desperate situation, saying their chances are slim and that her daughter's life belongs to the family. Liu Qingzhu lowers her gaze, silent for a moment. Then she turns and firmly states that a family of martial artists who won't fight monsters doesn't deserve to survive. The sign on a nearby commercial building shakes violently. In another room, Qinlan announces they are leaving the city and asks about the boy, Yehi. She decides to send him a message, letting him choose his own destiny. In the secret realm of Swan Lake, veteran warriors and volunteers gather on the front lines. Trading taunts and words of encouragement, they recall past battles as they prepare to fight together once more. Weapons in hand, the army of city defenders advances as one against the tide of beasts. At the kingdom's entrance, a massive military fleet forms the last line of defense with orders to hold their position at all costs. Mayor Huang Qing explains that the vanguard, made up of the city's best warriors, must collect data and return alive. Suddenly, his eyes widen at the sound coming from the portal. A single, gravely wounded soldier stumbles out. He collapses at the mayor's feet as medics rush to his aid. With a mangled hand, he hands over a flash drive containing all the battle data. The mayor takes it and desperately asks where the others are. The soldier confirms they all died in combat. In agony, he screams that the tide of beasts crushed everything, leaving no trace behind. With his last breath, he warns of a black ape that lured them into a trap. At that moment, a gigantic mass of black crystal bursts through the dimensional portal. The mysterious object smashes into a downtown building, causing a colossal explosion. Boulders rain from the sky, crashing down on streets and vehicles. Mayor Huang Qing realizes the bombardment is targeting the defensive mines beneath the tower. The mines detonate in a chain reaction, destroying the unfinished structures. Amidst the fire, a soldier shouts orders to retaliate with full force. The mayor watches his soldiers counterattack, trying to remain calm. He quickly concludes the monsters are using long-range tactics, something unusual for them. His face twisted with fury, he curses the beasts for their unexpected strategy. A second, even larger wave emerges from the portal and advances on the city. Heavy artillery fires non-stop, trying to hold back the new threat. Through the smoke, a soldier on the ground sees a gigantic silhouette land near him. A multi-eyed flying beast roars, ready to attack the ground troops. It lunges forward, biting a soldier with brutal speed. Then a swarm of these winged monsters descends upon the battlefield. The mayor yells for them to intercept the projectiles as quickly as possible. Back in the secret realm, it's revealed the projectiles are coming from the back of a gigantic creature. The blood-eyed black ape smirks, declaring that humanity can no longer resist. In its sovereign beast form, it roars for its soldiers to advance and destroy everything in their path. The colossal creature rampages across the battlefield, crushing the defense lines as the artillery fires relentlessly. Even under multiple explosions, the monster keeps advancing, crushing soldiers and vehicles with its bare hands. From a rooftop, Yehi watches the city burn and reflects on the uncertain future. With a steady gaze, he tells himself he won't let the monsters destroy the life he fought to build. A wild smile spreads across his face as he leaps and armor begins to form around his body. Elsewhere in the city, Lu Xuan defeats 5 beasts with an energy kick and earns a compliment from his comrade. Kai Shaoling appears soon after, taunting him that low-level monsters are nothing to be proud of. Shen Guan then shows up holding a beast core, surprised to find them there. He explains that as the children of martial artists who are fighting, they couldn't just run away. Suddenly, Lu Xuan yells for him to watch out. A military vehicle is hurled at high speed towards Shen Guan. Massive destruction continues to unfold in the city. Looking up, no one can tell who managed to hurl that armored vehicle into the air. But before it could hit anyone, it was sliced by an incredibly sharp sword. The cut was extremely precise, splitting the military vehicle into 2 halves as if it were made of butter. The blonde girl, looking back, can't hide her surprise. A lower-class creature has managed to infiltrate the rear guard. They need to be very cautious if they're going to fight it. But the monster's patience is short and immediately tries to attack the humans with its fists. The young man knows he won't be able to block that easily. And before anything worse could happen, someone intercepted the creature's attack. A large blue flash struck the creature, which looked like a huge ape. But the damage from the impact wasn't enough, and the creature tried to attack again, only to be subdued once more by the strength of Yehi, who will take this opportunity to neutralize the creature. With his hands, he immobilized it with great ease. And since it was a threat to innocent people, it was time for the creature to be stopped. A massive beam of light from the most intense laser was directed at the creature, defeating it. A young man who saw this believed the beasts were fighting each other. However, the swordsman knows that's our protagonist. His presence in this great chaos could mean the preservation of this city for one more day. Yeah, he looked toward the survivors, saying he'll leave that district to Pengzhou as he's now going to help in other areas. Disappearing instantly like a flash of lightning. High above, our protagonist can see all the destruction being caused. Using his senses, he's trying to find the area where the beasts are gathered in the largest numbers. He found it. In this dangerous area, armed men are discovering their bullets can't harm these creatures. One of them had the idea to use swords swords. If projectiles moving at 800 meters per second couldn't do anything, maybe he could with brute strength. His confidence was so high that all the men decided to obey. After all, what could go wrong? Bravely, they advanced toward a predictable outcome, quickly overcome by the powerful creature's defenses. It still had time to knock down others with its paws. A subordinate told the captain they needed to retreat, otherwise all fighters on that site could be defeated. The captain uses his blade to hold back some creatures. He knows his military duty. Their obligation is to buy time for people to escape. But before they could continue fighting, a dark red mist began to emanate from the monsters' bodies. It seemed to be absorbed by the larger creature. Before it could even try anything, a large blue beam like a laser struck the creature's head, taking it down for good. Other monsters in the area began to sense the approaching danger. Our protagonist charges at them all full of enthusiasm, hitting the vast battlefield like a meteor. On the other front lines, more monsters are approaching the city, but they are actually converging on a single region. A girl informed her superior that this is being caused by our protagonist. The creatures are heading toward him. Even though he is the city's last hope, the man doesn't want to leave all this responsibility in the hands of one young person. It's time to help him, and they will do everything possible to make that happen. Meanwhile, our protagonist continues to subdue the creatures with his abilities, leaving behind a large number of defeated opponents. No creature is capable of stopping him in this situation. The man who was worried noticed that our protagonist is being surrounded, and they won't let that happen. Thanks to our protagonist's presence, the morale of those fighting has been boosted. They don't want to lose the city like this. An enormous monster, wanting to take out its frustration on someone, charges forward. But before it could hit its target, it crashed into a magical barrier. That large structure was created by someone, and the one responsible is flying through the air. He knows he won't be able to stop the advance of the most powerful primitive beasts. One of them managed to climb it as if it were a tree. And once in the air, it wants to attack this citizen. What it didn't know was that he was prepared and is now going to show his power, firing a completely overwhelming energy at the creature. But the man's eyes are focused on the entire battle. A creature of absurd dimensions is coming from the sky. That is the Mountain Smasher, a level 4 Lord-class creature, king of its kind. The man knows things just got serious. If the sovereign monarch has entered the battlefield, the situation is critical. Changing his strategy, he touched the magical barrier with his hand, using his mountain smashing technique. It seems to be drawing all solid matter to its center like a black hole. This man knows that enemy is resistant to earth element attacks, but he's using it for a reason. Fortunately, the creature fell right into his trap. That gravitational core transformed into a massive drill-like object, which now strikes the serpent with great force, causing considerable damage to its head. Its furious roar shattered glass and windows for several kilometers. The creature's wrath can be felt by everyone. Luckily, this man already had information about it, and so they managed to reduce the collateral damage. If it had entered the city completely, it would be very difficult to weaken it. But since only its head passed through the gate, it became an easier target. And now the man showed his skills, unleashing a great power against the serpent. Several palm strikes are being delivered. The serpent watches, terrified, as the creature is struck by the human. Thanks to this, its defeat is drawing near. It didn't happen immediately only because the serpent grew spikes on its body to protect itself from the blows. While the man looks for openings, a creature is lurking in the shadows. Finally, he realized he had been ambushed. His reflexes couldn't keep up with his perception, and he was captured by a creature. An ape is asking what this human is doing on its mountain. That's when the man realized the red-eyed ape had been hidden there the whole time. And now this creature wants to defeat this poor soul, throwing its enemy to the ground with great force. The gorilla looks at its own hand, believing there are no powerful martial artists in this city, and that it can now do whatever it wants. And the man who was almost defeated is quite weakened, watching the creature carefully. Willing to continue the battle, the man is concentrating his power in one hand. With it, he created a kind of dragon, a storm of blades. But for the ape, all that resistance is meaningless. Destruction is inevitable. There is nothing on this battlefield that can contain its strength. Without a worthy opponent, humanity has become an easy target. The storm of blades advances, but the ape remains still. Its body is so strong and resilient that the blades shatter upon impact. Even so, it praised the attack's speed, though it considered it weak. As it says these words, the man managed to manipulate a large amount of solid matter. This attack, on the other hand, was much more powerful, but too slow to hit the ape, which moves with great agility among the debris. Approaching his enemy, the ape ordered the man to kneel, as it doesn't like to be looked in the eye by inferior creatures. Before he could react, the man was struck hard by the primate. But after landing that blow, the ape became thoughtful. Despite being constantly hit, the man keeps getting up, which made the ape ask why he feels no fear. Using his techniques once more, the man said the ape is still an arrogant beast, and that won't change. The forbidden technique is being used, and the ape is now trapped. Completely furious, the creature realized it had been lured into a trap. In the midst of all that earth, it is being sealed, and the debris will be its prison. As it's pulled in, the ape said the human is delusional, because that won't be enough. Since it won't be sealed forever, and when it gets out, its goal will be to attack all surviving human beings. And smiling mockingly, the man said this wasn't just any plan, immediately showing a large scar on his chest, a symbol of his devotion to humanity. Then he performed an act of extreme sacrifice. This intense scene startled the creature as it didn't know what this meant. It was unbelievable. He truly learned from his master. There was a powerful device hidden beneath the city, and the trigger was linked to his vital signs. If they stopped, everything would be over. And the creature, who was cunning, fell into despair. It wanted to believe it was all a bluff and that the human was lying. But the man was visibly weakened, which showed he wasn't joking about this. As the mayor of the city, he had dedicated his life to its protection. And now he had finally done enough for his people. After his last words, an intense wave of energy swept through the city. A brilliant light blinded the entire scene. In a matter of seconds, a massive cloud of energy engulfed the entire horizon. An alert message was being broadcast across all digital devices. After reading it, tears began to fall from a young man's eyes. The soldiers engaged in the fight paid their final respects to the mayor. Everyone knew the sacrifice that had been made. If that cloud of energy appeared in the sky, it meant the mayor was gone. After the worst had passed, a large crater of superheated rock could be seen. Inside, it seemed nothing was left of the creature. But in the midst of it, something extraordinary was happening. An energy began to gather. It was concentrating right where the creature had been defeated. Its body was being completely restored. Its physical form was regenerating from what remained, and life returned to the creature's eyes. Still recovering, it couldn't believe it had been almost defeated by a human. Enraged at being bested, he vowed to take revenge on all the people still alive there. But being weakened, he needed to return to his domain to regain his strength. However, someone asked what he thought he was doing. It was our protagonist who had arrived to solve the problem. The creature remembered this human well, the prodigy, and the greatest threat to the invasion. Our protagonist had finally found his adversary, even if it was a little late. Nevertheless, it was still time to act. Without a second thought, the confrontation began. But things weren't going as Yuvi had wished. The primate said he was a fool, arrogant enough to attack him, and now he would suffer the consequences. Our protagonist understood the situation. If the creature ran, it would be hard to hit it with his energy attack. It was then that the primate realized the situation was far more complicated than it seemed. He was hit again by a very intense attack. Our protagonist's energy was truly threatening, and another explosion as powerful as the last erupted in that place. Some people thought it was another device, believing the mayor had planned for everything. After that, the primate's body was damaged even further. Filled with dread, he was certain of one thing. Our protagonist was a formidable adversary, because what he was seeing now was the armored titan form. He said the boy was even more powerful than him, and that not even high-level creatures possessed such energy. Our protagonist didn't like those words and prepared for his next move. Because of this, it was time to use his skills against the primate, who was slammed hard into the ground. His body was thrown far away. To our protagonist, the primate's attempts to escape were futile. Since he had nothing left to lose, the primate gathered the pride of a sovereign and launched his attack. His hands clashed with Yahello's powerful fists, causing another devastating explosion. The force of that attack affected our protagonist, proving his enemy was truly a sovereign adversary. Not even in his titan form could Yui completely overpower him. Even so, it wasn't enough. The primate used all the strength he had in that last attack. He was sure he could no longer defeat this enemy. Realizing his disadvantage, he decided to retreat from that place immediately. But what he didn't know was that our protagonist was a great shot. Besides, he wouldn't let the mayor's sacrifice be in vain. He sent another of his radiant attacks against him, hitting the primate as he fled. The primate did everything to trick his enemy, even pretending to be defeated. A sign that the proud creature was filled with fear. Now, our protagonist lamented. If he'd have found the creature sooner, perhaps the mayor would still be alive. At least the primate was weakened and his chances of escape were slim. And thanks to our protagonist's senses, he found the primate underground, firing his powerful attacks at him once more. The creature tried to escape again. He was trying to buy as much time as possible to reach the gate leading to his dimension. If it weren't for the human prodigy, things might have been different. And once again, the primate was hit by an attack. Our protagonist wasn't satisfied and wanted the primate to answer for what happened to the mayor. Now visibly damaged and holding an energy sphere, the primate said Yi was pushing the limits. He was willing to use his entire energy core to take his enemies down with him. Thanks to that, he managed to completely restore one of his limbs. It seemed to have returned to the peak of its power. With this, his goal was to hit Yahello's titan form, but that blow was precisely intercepted. Even so, the damage caused by the primate was intense, and the titan form's arm was damaged, revealing great damage to the mechanical structure. Not even the primate could withstand such power. That was a bit dangerous for our protagonist, but the primate was also in no condition to fight. He was rapidly approaching his defeat. Before the final attack, he felt an intense pressure, as if he were the victim of a mental assault. That's when he realized there might be another expert in that place. Looking at the battlefield, he noticed several hands had appeared, and they were pushing the primate's body away. These shapes resembled fungi and were even growing on the joints of the titan's body, preventing it from moving freely. Enraged by this situation, our protagonist said that wasn't enough to stop him. Now his entire body was burning with energy. Intense blue flames were completely dissolving those shapes. It was time for them to experience intense heat. The primate was close to finally crossing through the gate, but until he passed through it, the danger was still very real. An imposing and menacing figure wreathed in flames was approaching quickly. This left the primate completely desperate. If they didn't hurry up and flee, there would be no escape. The shapes were hurrying, and the person responsible was trying their best. Our protagonist was surprised by what he saw and wondered if that was also a magical creature. The mysterious shapes had merged, creating a huge creature of terrible power. The city was still heavily damaged from the battle, and the thing that seemed responsible for the primate's escape was taking form. Its eyes were finally revealed. They were menacing and deep. The creature also let out a fierce, deafening, and dangerous roar. Our protagonist managed to block the hearing of his giant form, but his mind was still affected by the sound. It was as if he were being enveloped by that energy. After what happened, many people were affected, and he couldn't let the primate escape like this. Completely determined, he warned that the primate would not escape. And now the hero was gathering energy in the palm of his hands, hoping to settle this fight once and for all. His physical form completely left the Titan. Our protagonist did this on purpose. That was his specialty, a small, concentrated sphere of energy. Slowly, the energy spread through the creature's body. Meanwhile, the monster formed by the shapes continued to emit its sound. Another massive explosion occurred. The people watching the fight from a safe distance were growing more confused, as the beasts invading the city were now behaving erratically. Even so, they couldn't abandon their posts, and thanks to that final attack, the ape was finally defeated. It was up to the remaining martial artists to neutralize the beasts roaming the area. It took a full day for them all to be contained. The siege on that city was won by the humans, but the cost was high. Nearly 80% of the combatants did not survive, and the place where the Swan Lake once stood was completely destroyed. Lying there was a young man who finally woke up. It's our protagonist, still very confused. He doesn't know how long he was unconscious. Thanks to the energy released in the explosions, he was able to replenish his strength. The battle was truly intense. Thanks to what the mayor did, our protagonist had the chance to defeat the Black Ape for good. Although the variety of creatures he faces is interesting, it's hard to defeat a supreme-level beast. Our boy was very lucky, but he believes that, in time, he'll reach the pinnacle of martial power. The fastest path to that is attaining the power of the Cosmic Emperor. That's why he needs to hurry and collect the necessary magic cores compatible with this power. Perhaps being transported to that world was his destiny. After that intense battle, a month had passed, and for the people, life had returned to normal. During the creature's siege, several cities were completely lost. A major national martial arts organization sent warriors and grandmasters to investigate. That invasion was completely unexpected. The most powerful guardian, martial artist Hongxing, arrived late and was severely injured during the battle. Our protagonist realized that humanity's survival would be a difficult road. He goes to the young woman's house with a request. Kin already knows he wants to learn her family's 2 remaining techniques. Embarrassed, our boy admits he has another request. He needs her help to obtain high-quality magic cores. She explains that plant-type cores are rare and precious. Intrigued by his proposal, she asks what he can offer in return. Our protagonist knows the university's freshman orientation includes a secret dimension exam. He offers to help Kingju take first place. She's interested but says he's underestimating the challenge, telling him he's still a long way from the other prodigies. Our boy knows she's entrusted her family's future to him, so he thinks she should be a bit more optimistic. Standing up, she seems to agree, stating she'll help him one more time. Back in the city, our boy arrives at the hospital. He's immediately recognized by several people who now see him as a true hero. Among them are many admirers. Our protagonist goes to visit his friend, who is no longer the most popular guy in town. Another young man in the infirmary is also thrilled by the visit, but our boy has no idea who he is. The guy's name is Xuan, and they fought once. Despite a severe leg injury, he's doing okay. Thanks to modern technology, he can get an advanced prosthetic. Our protagonist is impressed by his former opponent's courage in getting badly injured to defend the city. As he's thinking, he gets a call, and that's been happening a lot lately. His phone has been ringing off the hook. On the other end of the line, a man with a mustache is complaining that he needs to pay attention. This includes the admissions officers from the Imperial University. A special train will pick him up in 3 days to start his training. The heavily bandaged young man also gets a call. They both want to prepare for the university. The only one who isn't a top student is the one injured in the battle. But he still has something to do before he goes. He returns to the site of the massive energy impact, which is still shrouded in a toxic cloud. Our protagonist goes back, his power is activated. A dense fog is forming around him. As the Cosmic Emperor, he absorbs the energy. After his last battle, he increased his sync rate with the title by 1.5%. The residual energy here allows him to cultivate efficiently. He has been doing this for the past 3 days, but he can't stay there forever. The train to the university is about to depart, and he heads there to begin his journey. Among those boarding are some familiar faces. In fact, he just made a very flashy entrance at the station. At least he made it on time. The crowd watches, impressed by the hero's arrival. His friend notes that he's definitely gotten stronger. Finally, they're saying goodbye to this great city, our protagonist's hometown. Now he must look to new horizons and head for the city of the Imperial University. Even though he can fly and has incredible abilities, he needs to take the train. Inside, he feels restless. He asks his friend if everyone here are top scorers. He learns the train is heavily guarded because it carries the most talented of the new generation. He used his senses to analyze the vitality of those people, recognizing that there are many prodigies, but only 5 of them could withstand 3 of his moves. As the journey continues, an alert sounds. The train is under attack. The alert adds that the enemies are unknown. Students must evacuate their compartments and avoid conflict. Everyone on board is worried. After the recent attack, the nation is severely weakened, but our protagonist remains calmly seated. He's been training hard and just wants to rest. However, he realizes life has other plans for him. It's time to act. Despite the warning, the train keeps moving. A badly injured freshman tries to block our boy's path. The enemy has already breached the first 3 cars. The attackers are terrifying, and they're driving people into a separate dimensional space. After hearing this, the people with our boy grow anxious. But one of them demands proof of the danger. This guy with spiky hair believes he can beat them. His courage scares some, while emboldening others. So the boy heads toward the danger, but the freshman warns him he's heading toward immense danger. Only then does the freshman realize who he's talking to. Using his vitality sensor, he detects anomalies in the freshman and asks how he knows him. The young man says a girl named Liu showed him a photo and told him to find our protagonist. She said not to let him go in the front cars no matter what. This news alarms our protagonist. He also learns she was badly injured protecting the freshman. With tears in his eyes, he vows to keep his promise, so the other's sacrifices won't be in vain. Our protagonist is furious, as the boy's words imply the girl didn't survive. And since he made a promise to her parents, he has no choice but to intervene. The freshman tries to block our protagonist, but he's met with the overwhelming power of the two. Still, he insists he's only trying to save our protagonist's life. But his persistence has reached its limit, and he's quickly subdued, getting a first-hand taste of our protagonist's impressive power, who is now rushing toward the front lines. Eventually, he came across a portal. This must be the space the freshman had mentioned. To test his theory, our protagonist throws a suitcase into the portal. There's no reaction. His senses can't detect any energy from it, which is confusing. Still, he decides to go in and see what's happening. Once on the other side, our boy is surprised. A winding path appears at his feet, leaving him a bit confused. Although he entered with his friend, he's now completely alone. Unsure of what to do, our protagonist heads toward the light. He arrives in a completely abandoned and destroyed city. His force field can't detect anything either, as if it's being blocked. Only one option left. Our boy takes to the skies. He heads toward the tallest building he can find. Enraged at whoever is responsible, our hero unleashes a massive energy attack. He releases a huge wave of power into the sky, shaking the entire dimension. The other freshmen trapped in the city see our protagonist's powerful strike. It seems to have caught some attention, as figures begin moving toward our hero. Liu is badly wounded. She realizes our hero is here, ignoring her warning. Looking down, our hero sees he's drawn a lot of attention, including his enemies. A man in a pig mask charges at him, ready for an intense fight. Our protagonist hates mysteries. He decides he'll take that mask off with his own two hands. The man prepares for combat, but all he gets is a direct, powerful blow. Despite this, our hero realizes the man withstood his strongest blow and is completely unharmed. He seizes the opportunity to strike with his blade, but our hero's resilience surprises him. The protagonist's regeneration is so intense that he blocked the blow with his muscles alone. His attacker's strength isn't that great, but the weapon piqued our protagonist's interest. Using his hands, he immobilized the opponent's head, wanting to get a closer look at its structure. Since it was very dark, our hero had to illuminate the individual's face with his energy beam. Unfortunately, the blast was so powerful it completely defeated the creature. That's when he noticed something inside its head, a kind of jade pendant. Our hero now figures this must be part of a challenge in this dimension, and that opponent's weapon was enchanted with a high-level dark aura. After the aura was dispelled, the weapon became ordinary again. While still pondering the situation, an arrow was shot toward our hero, but it was quickly intercepted by his defensive skills. Another adversary is approaching, ready for a fight. Our protagonist doesn't like to be caught by surprise. To be surprised, an arrow shot up from the ground. This is a technique used by that mysterious man. It managed to get our protagonist's body several times, but this only made him angrier, as these attacks aren't nearly enough to defeat him. Completely focused, our hero summoned an immense dark power, and now he's at full strength. His cosmic power is heading toward the opponent. The blow is so powerful that a nearby building, which had nothing to do with the conflict, was destroyed. From a distance, other people are trying to understand why the building collapsed. Meanwhile, our protagonist is looking for the one responsible for the attack. He finally finds an adversary wearing a rabbit mask. His opponent can also strengthen his legs in a surprising way. This was done so he could leap with great speed. Even so, it's not enough to surprise our protagonist. Although he defended himself, he realized the masked adversary is a martial artist, who is already pointing his spear at our protagonist's face. But before he could be hit, a barrier of ice was summoned to protect him. Thanks to this technique, the adversary was completely surrounded by a wall of ice. Our protagonist's friend was the one who created it, and with his sword, he intends to stop the opponent. Since he wasn't prepared, his strike wasn't fast enough to hit the creature. All he managed to do was make the opponent even angrier, who now advances, executing several spear strikes, completely destroying the ice wall. But our protagonist's friend has his own skills. He knows palm impact techniques, which were effective enough to hurl the opponent far away. At that moment, the creature understood what happens to its adversaries. An enormous dark energy is approaching its body. It's our protagonist, who in his most powerful form managed to subdue it with a single move. Following this action, another energy explosion occurred. Minutes earlier, a few people were talking in an abandoned building. He knows the masked one's weapons can overcome any defense, and the guy who showed up firing his energy into the sky must be just another defeated competitor, because now everything has gone silent again. This woman knows that the prodigies of this generation are on another level and are capable of fighting the masked ones. And compared to those from the Huadi region, the other students aren't as strong. As they reflected on this, another energy explosion happened, leaving those people completely speechless. The long-haired guy is also watching this. He asked his friend what he thinks about it, and an introverted colleague in a Hoda believes it's a freshman's technique. They had just defeated the horse-masked figure, and now they want to know how someone possesses such an exaggerated power. They have managed to gather 4 pendants so far. Other freshmen are also collecting the pendants. They're separated according to the zodiac signs, and they need to collect them all. The most dangerous among them is the dragon. Its touch is extremely perilous. and it would be best to avoid it at all costs. And the introvert is sure that the freshman releasing this blue energy must also have several pendants. Since they desire victory, it's time to collect pendants from the other students. Our protagonist's battle is over. He already has the pig pendant and now the rabbit one. His friend wants to know if they are really going to hunt these masked figures. Our protagonist confirms it. He said there's another opponent nearby, the one who tried to hit him with an arrow. It's possible to track him through his energy. After walking a bit, our protagonist found signs of a battle. There was still heat in those marks. The people involved can't be too far. Our protagonist's friend noticed they were close and sensed something unusual. He immediately used his ice sword, sending an attack in the direction of his intuition, disrupting the invisibility technique of a female combatant in the process. Our protagonist's friend didn't like knowing someone was hiding in the shadows there. Before he could attack her again, a combatant capable of using flames entered the scene, using his technique to counter the ice of our hero's friend. This combatant also proved to be impatient and is complaining about his colleague's lack of skill for getting discovered. Our protagonist approached menacingly and wants to know if they were trying to ambush them. The girl said they got it all wrong, that they were chasing the chicken-masked figure. As she says this, her friend gets ready. Our protagonist is already very angry and determined to find out the truth. He grabbed the girl, questioning her. It was a clone, which only made the girl very apprehensive. While her partner had already expected this, he immediately got into position. Puffing up his cheeks and throat like a frog, he hurled all that special smoke toward our protagonist. As our hero is very cautious, he retreated immediately. At that moment, the girl revealed a large fan and she is going to push the smoke toward them, blowing the dense fog in our protagonist's direction, engulfing our heroic duo. Now that they are surrounded by the fog, the flame user is going to launch his power at them, producing a massive explosion. With this, they believe they have emerged victorious, as no one can withstand that combination of powers. But this only made our protagonist even angrier. With determination, by clapping his hands, our hero pushed the dangerous smoke away. This left the flame user terrified. Not even the greatest experts could do something like that. And to his surprise, the opponent saw a swift blow approaching at the speed of light. It's our protagonist who is now in control of the situation. The confrontation is underway. The girl realized she wouldn't be spared just for being a student. She would certainly be questioned. Before she could think of fleeing, she noticed her legs had been frozen. She had completely ignored our protagonist's friend, who is now approaching her, determined to know who is behind the plan. The student knows there's no way to reason with a motivated adversary. She used her wind to break the ice that trapped her feet. Like a projectile, she began to flee in desperation. What she didn't know was that she would be captured immediately. Looking back, astonishment filled her eyes. Our protagonist confronted the student as he went to that location prepared to fulfill his mission. This time, the approach would be direct and there would be no hesitation. However, luckily for her, she managed to escape. This only activated our protagonist's pursuit instinct, and he was determined to recapture her. He unleashed his intimidating energy, the one he uses to confront adversaries, capturing the student who can no longer escape as she was restrained by the energy of those he had already confronted. Our protagonist ordered her to accept her fate, as there was no one to help her now. Completely surrendered, she decided to hand over the item, the 2 pendants Dana collected. Since he was in a good mood, our protagonist told her to tell him everything she knows. The student said that to win this challenge, it's necessary to collect 12 pendants. Possessing a lot of information, she suggested guiding our protagonist inside that place, planning to take advantage of the situation and grab the pendants if he were defeated. But exuding an intimidating energy, our protagonist said that wouldn't be necessary. Meanwhile, in the same place, the long-haired guy and the introvert are running quickly as they want to obtain pendants. Along the way, the long-haired guy was surprised by something. There were traces of a recent confrontation in the middle of their path, and they know that participant's name was Xin Chen. A few minutes ago, this participant was walking casually, wanting to team up with other freshmen to stay in the challenge. That's when he felt a presence behind him. A masked figure carrying a sword was approaching him. This figure had 2 irises in each of its eyes. That's when the participant understood he was facing the dragon-masked figure. As if in a suspense scene, the lights on that avenue began to flicker, and in the next second, he was decisively defeated. The dragon has no compassion for anyone, and he's also carrying a few pendants. Analyzing the scene, the long-haired guy can't understand how the participant was overcome, but the introvert knows it was the dragon's doing, the most powerful of the masked ones. Earlier, the long-haired guy tried to defeat him in the underground along with 20 other participants, and the only ones who managed to escape were him and the introvert. It was getting so tense, it didn't even feel like a challenge anymore. And overcome by fear, the introvert was completely paralyzed. The long-haired guy also reported that the participants' pendants were taken. The dragon might have left the underground because the freshman managed to meet certain conditions like defeating all the other masked ones. Gathering his resolve, the introvert knows he can't fight the dragon, so he wants to get other pendants as quickly as possible. He summons his great wings to speed things up. He wants to send a false signal to attract his targets and take their pendants. Flying through the air, he began to emit powerful sound waves. In that same city, a badly injured Liu is recording a diary, recounting everything that happened. She believes she doesn't have the strength to escape this situation. All she wanted was for our protagonist not to get involved in this danger too. She wonders if the participant who escaped this dimension managed to find our boy and deliver her message. While reflecting on this, she heard something terrifying, and she immediately thought she'd been discovered. In her current state, she won't be able to escape, making her a potential target for pendant thieves. The winged introvert ended up locating Liu, and it seems she has the ox pendant, which is very useful. He also knows where she's heading now. He believes it's a trap set by the girl, trying to lure him to the underground where the dragon is, but he knows the creature has already come to the surface. So it's time to find her and take her pendant. Determined to find the girl, he went straight to the building where she was. With his wings, he stops in midair, saying that no one can hide from him. But what the introvert didn't expect was to hear that voice from earlier. Furthermore, in the shadows, he saw a sword wielder in a dragon mask. Completely terrified, he felt a chill, believing the dragon is targeting pendant bearers. This reminded him that he's currently carrying 4 of them. The dragon's eyes are glowing menacingly, and the introvert realized it's time to run. There's nothing he can do to defeat this creature. And because he hesitated, he was drawn into the dragon's domain, a technique he didn't know the creature could use. It's activated when you look into the opponent's eyes, and the only way out is to win the fight. The dragon charges forward, determined to strike his opponent. Several blows are exchanged in the air, and the introvert tries to block them with his wings, only to see the dragon trying to surprise him from behind. Outside, the long-haired guy's life isn't easy either, as he's found something even worse than the dragon. It's our protagonist in his most intimidating mode, and can't believe those individuals used the general chat to provoke everyone. Our protagonist's friend wants to have some fun too, and asked the long-haired guy to be his opponent so he could test some techniques. This comment infuriated the participant, who realized he was being deeply underestimated by the two of them. Seeing the attack approach, our protagonist's friend used his ice sword once again, managing to block the long-haired guy's charge. But it seems he's fully committed to the fight, and the long-haired guy is eager to continue the confrontation, wielding his greatsword against the boy once more. But his agility is so great that he almost surprised him from the side. But our protagonist's friend is protected by the plot. He repeated his mantra, stating that the sword and the man must be one. Right after that, a huge and dangerous creature emerged from his sword. Meanwhile, behind the long-haired guy, a great tiger appeared as well. The tiger and the dragon are now in an intense battle. Although the fight is balanced, our protagonist can't hide his disinterest. In the middle of the battle, the long-haired guy felt the introvert's energy, who is now calling for help. He needs to make a decision in the middle of this combat. Abandoning the conflict, he said he has urgent matters to attend to, otherwise he would stay and defeat these opponents. But our protagonist wasn't going to let him escape so easily. He hit the long-haired guy with a powerful blow, which he managed to block with his sword. However, the impact was so strong that he was thrown far away. The long-haired guy can't understand how that was possible. He believes he was completely caught by surprise, but our protagonist said he's just weak. This seems to have awakened an intense fury in the long-haired guy. 3 minutes later, he woke up completely disoriented. Apparently, his endurance was exceptional. Our protagonist is holding the long-haired guy's sword and said he would borrow it for a moment. For that, it needs to be reinforced a bit, and our boy placed special scales around it. The guy with the ice sword said the long-haired guy has no pendants. However, he found a necklace on him that won't stop blinking. It seems to be sending some kind of signal. Inside the dragon's domain, things are not easy at all. The introvert boy has been gravely injured. He never imagined things would get to this point. He used all the relics he had brought from the secret kingdom, and he just needed to hit the dragon's vital point to seal its energy. In the process, he was seriously wounded and failed to hit the target in the dragon's heart, missing by a few inches. The creature now approaches to finish the fight, but the dragon had better ideas. He decided to pin his opponent to the wall using his sword, leaving him immobilized there like a trophy. Meanwhile, Liu is climbing the stairs, intending to reach the roof of that place. She knows she's no match for the dragon, who is much scarier than the ox. Knowing her opponent won't last long, she's the next target. Her only chance of survival is to find the protagonist somehow, and that is the tallest building in this city. The girl is using her special ability to see beyond her normal range. Now that she's on the terrace, she can try something. But using her abilities in her current state was very costly, and she hopes our boy can receive her message. Lying on the ground, she heard a strange sound. She went to the parapet to see what it was. To her surprise, the dragon is walking up the walls, slowly approaching its target. Liu, completely terrified, began to wish intensely for our protagonist to arrive soon. And once again, the dragon's eyes met his opponent's, creating a huge dimensional space on top of that building. Inside, the girl must defeat him if she wants to escape, and the dragon is about to show his immense power. The girl knows she has no chance of winning. However, the author wasn't going to let such a well-designed character be defeated like that. That dimension is being shattered from the outside. Our boy has arrived to save the day because he made a promise to the girl's parents. Desperate, she screams our protagonist's name, and the dragon realized things are about to get a little more complicated, because heading his way is a determined young man eager to impress a girl, a powerful combination. The sword descends upon the dragon relentlessly. The blow is so devastating that the building was sliced in half. Our protagonist told Liu to meet up with the others nearby, as he's going to show the dragon what happens to those who challenge him. Right after that, he went on the attack. Far away, the ice sword user saw what had happened. Our protagonist knows he's going to use that domain technique again, and he already suspected the signal from the necklace was a warning. He also noticed an object embedded in the creature's chest. This must be the plan the long-haired guy and his ally had. The dragon is preparing to attack, but our protagonist wields a Godzilla sword made for combat. Both warriors clash their weapons with all their might. Our protagonist was already looking for a chance to test himself. During their battle, more buildings are cut down as if they were building blocks. The dragon is a fierce enemy, and he is determined to defeat our protagonist with his sword. He charges at him with his primitive fury. Our boy noticed that the blows are getting heavier and more dangerous. He is thrown towards the ground with great force. But in the midst of all that dust, a cosmic energy is gathering. The dragon understood this could be very dangerous, and Godzilla's atomic breath came down on him, devastating and relentless. Finally, our protagonist found a worthy opponent, one that required him to don his Godzilla armor. He knows the dragon won't be defeated so easily. After that powerful blow, part of the dragon's mask was destroyed, revealing a human face. This motivated our protagonist, who sensed that the battle would become even more intense. The dragon charges at him once again, determined to defeat him with the next strike. Our protagonist felt the immediate danger, but in his Godzilla form, he is immensely powerful. However, he soon discovered that by destroying part of the mask, the dragon's strength and speed had increased. And that's not all. A special ocular technique is now being used constantly. With his great strength, the dragon managed to shatter the magnificent sword. This left our protagonist quite surprised, because now he has no weapon capable of withstanding that powerful assault, and the dragon's katana is approaching faster and faster. At that moment, the protagonist acted decisively, activating his maximum power and stopping the sword with incredible force. Finally, he managed to restrain his adversary. At such a short distance, his attacks are very effective. Even the dragon realized there was no escape. He was hit by a powerful blow to the chin. With that strike, his mask was completely destroyed. But our protagonist continued his offensive. He unleashed a sequence of swift attacks against the dragon. Our protagonist is aiming for vulnerable points to neutralize his opponent. At the same time, he's blocking his adversary's energy points, increasing the internal damage. From the force of the blows, the dragon became very weak and even dropped his sword. But he did this cunningly, kicking the blade with his foot, intending to hit our hero. Was already expecting some kind of strategy like this. But while he's wearing the Godzilla armor, there's nothing the dragon can do to win. Our protagonist used a fan to block this attack. Now it's time to end everything with his power. The protagonist summoned a great cyclone of shadows to envelop his adversary, and the great cyclone continues to spin without stopping. In the middle of it, the dragon is being overwhelmed and dark energy surrounds him. But our protagonist wasn't finished yet. He wants to confront this enemy one more time, charging at him with all of his kaiju fury, unleashing a devastating cosmic energy blow. The battle is so one-sided now that the opponent seems to have no chance left. He's about to take a second, equally powerful hit. Our protagonist launched a direct attack, but since this is a Chinese story, the move's name is Mountain Fist Blocking Black Lightning. The blow sent the dragon hurling between the building walls as if he were a pinball, until he inevitably came to a stop on the ground. For our protagonist in his Godzilla armor, that dragon wasn't much of a challenge. Almost out of strength, the dragon tries to lift his sword one more time, but our hero was already impatient and delivered the final blow with the creature's own sword, ending the combat once and for all. And with that, he obtained the last pendant. It's time to finish this difficult challenge. Far away, the long-haired guy is quite apprehensive. Gathered with the other survivors, he must already know what happened to his colleague. Just then, Liu questions if the protagonist should have faced the dragon alone. She didn't seem to grasp the situation, as there was no other choice. And that's exactly what the guy with the ice sword said. Besides the protagonist, no one was capable of facing that creature. This made the girl realize he's right. In fact, she was seriously injured at the very beginning, leaving her unable to fight. Our protagonist noticed she was too distracted by her thoughts, and he needs her attention to get the bull pendant. With all the pendants in hand, he arranged them according to the zodiac order. But so far, nothing special has happened. The long-haired guy believes it's related to the dragon pendant, which wasn't supposed to belong to one of the hunters. There must be some activation condition, so that pendant was removed from the order of the others. That seems to have caused a reaction in this dimension. A portal appeared in the sky, and the entire city is disappearing. Our protagonist can't tell when it is. To make matters worse, there's an eye in the middle of that portal, leaving all the freshmen in complete disbelief. And a mysterious force seems to be pulling our protagonist. Without any explanation, his eyes opened in a completely different place. They had all returned to the train car. Some still had their memories, many had not returned. A recorded announcement informed the students they had been taken to an illusory realm. This was this year's freshman hazing. What a strange university, they took hazing to a whole new level. Now everyone was informed that our protagonist's team managed to collect all 12 pendants and that our hero's performance was exceptional, so he will receive a reward. Immediately, rumors start to spread through the train. No one can figure out how he was able to do such a thing. And now, our protagonist realizes he has finally achieved what he wanted. By meeting specific conditions, he received a reward from the system. Now, our hero hopes there won't be any kind of trick this time. In the system portal, an imposing creature appeared before him. The vampire model is now available, capable of influencing other beings and manipulating their life energy. After that extremely memorable and disturbing event, the train continues toward its destination. Our hero is celebrating getting the vampire card, but some people came over to talk to him. It's the introverted kid and the long-haired guy who want to know if he really defeated the dragon. Our protagonist was even more emphatic. He defeated the dragon, leaving the introverted kid completely speechless. He announced to everyone that he wanted to create a new student club at the university and asked our protagonist to be their president, because with our protagonist's strength, they can fight against tradition. The others saw that the arrogant kid actually invited someone, which was incredibly surprising. But of course our hero refused. He prefers to act alone and doesn't care much for factions. Even so, the kid left his business card with him, hoping they could talk about it soon. Later that same day, the train finally reached its destination. Looking out the window, our protagonist was as happy as a child. It's the first time he's ever seen a city as large and developed as this one. Disembarking from the train, they marveled at all the development. An assistant is showing all the freshmen which way they should go, and gradually they become immensely shocked, because an aircraft worthy of StarCraft is waiting for all of them. A recorded announcement said the students must board it and find their respective seats, which have the same number as on the train. Our protagonist ended up meeting Liu, but the girl had been advised by her own mother that even though they are engaged, they aren't married, so she must control her hormones, giving our hero a somewhat aggressive response. In any case, the young man's question was about the aircraft, and he learned from Liu that the university is in the sky, in a floating city. The aircraft finally took all the students there. There is an electromagnetic field around the entire city, preventing dangerous monsters from approaching. After disembarking, they need to show their IDs. After that, they go through one more station and finally arrive at the dorms. All the buildings there are enormous, and our hero can't stop being impressed by it all. Some even think he's some kind of idiot. At least he and his friend with the ice sword will be close, separated by only 2 floors. Our protagonist was surprised to find they would have a 100 square meter apartment, fully furnished, with a state-of-the-art computer, and even a jacuzzi tub. For him, it's like staying in the best hotel that exists. Now it's time to get down to business and test the vampire model. Using his student ID, he can use the university app and spend points to buy interesting things. But he soon discovered that the prices of things are simply absurd, and now our protagonist needs to be very careful with his spending. He bought a few items that could help him with his motivation, and they were immediately delivered by drones. Our hero is very excited to use those crystals. Using them all at once was very uncomfortable. His stomach could barely handle it. But the effects of the vampire powers are truly indescribable. Even his fangs grew larger now. Sucking an enemy's blood will be very easy. His nails are also long like claws, which gave our protagonist an interesting idea. He thought it would be cool to pierce his own throat with his new claws. Our protagonist gagged at the idea. A large wound appeared on his neck, but it regenerated almost instantly. With this, he realized his regeneration had become even faster, and it was incredibly obvious to him. Now in the training room, he will test his other skill, Red Calamity. Closing his eyes, he tries to concentrate his new energy. His eyes open, filled with determination. On the other side of the arena, a malevolent figure appeared. Our boy asked the figure to approach and try to hit him with a punch. The malevolent figure channels its power to deliver the best possible blow, causing another equally malevolent figure to appear on its back. Now its fists are ready to strike our protagonist. He tries to defend himself in the most foolish way possible, by crossing his arms in front of his face. It's a guard that doesn't exist in any martial art. It would have been interesting if the malevolent figure had hit him in the stomach, but it went straight for his defense. Our protagonist felt all the bones from his elbow down shatter, and the force of the impact was so great that he was sent flying. As he got up, he noticed his arms felt like boiled noodles. Now it's time to test time freeze. To our boy's surprise, he managed it for 5 seconds. That's his current limit. He decided he would keep trying to increase it. With great concentration, he managed to raise this limit little by little. But to reach the 5.5 second mark, he's about to explode. And his barrier was completely destroyed upon reaching his new limit. 5 seconds is the body's original limit, but for our protagonist, it's just a barrier to be broken. The next day, he's walking through the university. Thanks to the vampire ability, sunlight isn't very pleasant for him now. Our boy is feeling uncomfortable. As they were walking, the ice sword guy asked if our protagonist had heard about the latest reforms that year. Classes will be in small groups like a mentorship, and students can seek guidance from different mentors. Our protagonist wants to know if he needs to look for someone, and his classmate informs him that in his case, he doesn't. Showing him a notice shared at the university, he explains that our boy did so well in the hazing ritual that he can choose any mentor, and none can refuse him. Heading straight for the gym, there's a long line of students. Our protagonist doesn't want to waste his time there and says he'll meet up with his friends soon. Since he can't be refused, he can use this advantage. But for him, having to choose a mentor will be a huge pain. Until our boy smelled a very different scent. This is the smell of blood. Immediately, he started following this trail. Thanks to his new abilities, he could sense an aggressive aura. Following the trail, he was surprised by what he saw. A girl is crouching on the ground eating a sweet potato, and she doesn't seem threatening at all. Our boy can't understand how such a cute girl could be the source of that evil energy. Standing up, she asked if our protagonist trains with a demon's body. Since this is true, he was surprised. She then said she helped Yahello himself improve his technique. Our boy knows exactly who that guy is. He's the weirdo with the broccoli head. And the girl said this man was her disciple 90 years ago. But our protagonist has a hard time believing it, as she looks very young. But few things are impossible for those who have reached the pinnacle of martial arts. Maintaining such an appearance isn't that challenging. Changing her expression, the girl asks if our protagonist doesn't believe her, and he started to joke with her. Right after that, he felt as if his head were in a guillotine. Such was the killing intent of the woman before his eyes. And the sensation was so real, it felt like a hallucination. That is the true Scarlet Calamity. But before he could say anything, the girl put a lollipop in our protagonist's mouth. She apologized for getting too carried away. She didn't want our boy to complain about her to the university. She only gets a few hours of release each week. Growing more curious, our protagonist wants to know who she is. Her name is Gong Ki, the weird girl, a very powerful grandmaster. She even made the university president cry when they were kids. Hearing all that, our boy immediately dropped to his knees. If that girl really is a grandmaster, she could help him overcome this technical bottleneck, as their styles are very compatible. As he formally asked to become her disciple, the woman was visibly taken aback. Far away, back at the gym, the mentors are observing the students. Among them are the 5 deans. The other students never imagined they would be there, but they only came to this selection because of our protagonist, who managed to overcome that deadly challenge, since he achieved the maximum score in all categories by defeating the dragon. To the deans, our protagonist doesn't even know who the dragon really was. He's a model created by a supercomputer based on Hongsheng's abilities when he entered the university decades ago. No one has surpassed his data in a century. And if our protagonist defeated the artificial model, it's because he possesses great talent. Everyone is eager to meet him. But a secretary brings the dean terrible news, because he had already chosen the weird girl as his mentor, leaving all the professors visibly upset. At first, she didn't much like the idea of having that young man as her disciple. In fact, she said she had already been expelled from this grand institution. But our protagonist knows she gets out a few hours a week, which would be more than enough, and he can help her win her freedom. A completely irresistible offer for her. While they were discussing her terms, all the deans appeared. The stone man reminded the weird woman of her own words. She had promised not to interact with students when she was free, and due to her mental state, she is not fit to teach. The old man told her to go home, but the woman was not willing to do so. But not wanting to antagonize them, she called her new disciple to go home together. As he follows his new mentor, our protagonist observes the university, until they arrived in front of a large door. Inside the elevator, he asked if she lived there. She said yes, and that she had had problems in recent decades, accidentally causing incidents, but had recently learned to control herself. Sensing the boy's enthusiasm, the teacher asked if he wasn't afraid, and he finally realized he could be easily overpowered in that place. Curiously, they arrived at a very particular floor. When the elevator door opened, he saw a narrow hallway designed that way because only that teacher ever passes through. There was a countdown happening, and our protagonist wanted to know what caused it. Anxious and in a hurry, the teacher said they needed to get to the other side immediately. If she didn't make it in time, an alarm would sound at the university and everyone would be looking for her. Helping his new mentor, our protagonist hurried to get through as well. On the other side of the door, they were completely isolated from the outside world, and a barrier also appeared, an intense energy field. This causes any martial technique in that space to be greatly weakened. The teacher explained that this was her containment housing. To make her stay more pleasant, the apartment was extremely well furnished, spanning 3 full floors. This way, she could stay there calmly without thinking of escaping. For someone who was supposed to be in containment, our protagonist thought the apartment was very luxurious. Meanwhile, the news was brought to the university president, but he respected our protagonist's decision. When a true talent appears, their obligation is to help them develop even further. And the president believes the teacher will be useful. Since she is constantly monitored, they already know that both are inside her quarters. There is still a 5% chance of her losing control, and a 90% chance of our protagonist being severely injured if that happens. The president knows that special class fighters always have a complicated history, and in times of crisis they are sent to front lines, so our protagonist needs to be prepared, because he knows this new generation doesn't have enough time. It's been many decades since the woman last taught someone, and our protagonist believes they are about to start their training session. He asked if she wasn't going to contain her power for this, but the woman had forgotten. As she's stretching, our protagonist says he's ready. But if there's one thing he wants, it's to never feel that sense of impending defeat again. When the match began, the woman came at him with great force. Our protagonist realized she was aiming for his weak spots. Even though he had calculated 5 escape routes, he felt like he was being read like an open book. So he decided to face the problem head-on, summoning his special armor, ready to strike back against his formidable teacher. She was pleased to see her new disciple using his skills to counter the attack. It's just a shame she's much faster than him. With great agility, she managed to get behind him while immobilizing him, applying immense pressure on our boy in the process. His training will definitely be intense. Without his armor, our boy realized the impact was considerable. At least he has the ability to recover. Besides, he realized his teacher wasn't going to hold back in this training. She enjoyed this opportunity too. It had been a long time since she could use her abilities so freely. Since our boy can't match her strength, he'll use something much more powerful next time, fusing the intense energy of radioactivity with his body. Fortunately, he had managed to perfect the anthropomorphism technique the night before, and the woman realized her disciple's potential was indeed very interesting. So she would show him a powerful technique as well, unleashing a blast of energy from her hands against him. It pierced right through our protagonist's technique, causing a huge explosion in the process, but he was already protected by his metal armor. The teacher's eyes watched this with great attention. The massive armor simply materialized on his back, but she was breathing calmly as it happened, directing her strike against her opponent, completely disabling our protagonist's mechanical arm. He couldn't understand how his impenetrable defense was completely ignored. The teacher quickly realized her new disciple was hiding inside that structure, proving her detection skills were terrifying, and she was determined to force him out of that metal structure. But as soon as she got close, several defenses emerged from the large armor. It was enough to make her back away. Now our protagonist would use his energy breath against her. Our boy knew he wouldn't be able to overpower her with this move, but he wanted to see how far he could push it. That's when he felt his entire body being restrained by energy chains. He again felt that overwhelming pressure. He knew this feeling all too well. The energy was descending intensely. Our protagonist tried to slow down time with his Scarlet ability, gaining precious seconds in that difficult situation. With that, he had the chance to break through this dimension. Using the power of the Scarlet Calamity, our protagonist began to open his eyes very slowly, only to find he was lying on the ground and heard from his teacher that his protection was indeed very tough. Feeling a bit dizzy, he realized he had been forcefully removed from the metal structure his defense completely bypassed. Since this can't be done at a martial disciple's level, he believed his teacher used a trick, but she said she beat him fair and square, admitting she might have used a bit more force than necessary because being so strong, it's hard for her to control herself. Our boy had a hard time accepting those words. Emotionally, the teacher promised she wouldn't bend the rules next time. She doesn't want her disciple to get angry as she spent decades in isolation. The teacher seemed worried about losing contact with her new disciple, and now her eyes were welling up with tears. Trying to compose herself, she asked if he really wasn't going to leave. But our protagonist had worked so hard to get here, and he wasn't going to abandon her. Now the teacher seems highly motivated. It's like she wasn't shaken just moments ago. After that session, she has a sense of her new disciple's strength. He's stronger than average, but still far from her level. When she asked him what he wanted to learn, our protagonist revealed he wants to know advanced techniques like the one that broke through his armor. The teacher said that's hard to teach, but after enough practice, he'll understand how it works. Because he'll feel like he's holding a thread. No matter the object, there's always an access point, and this thread can be broken. This is the line of rupture. Our boy realized his teacher's technique is very different from the other one who taught him. The first technique he learned was based on strength, while his teacher's has the precision of an expert. If he wants to learn this, it will be complicated as it requires a very solid martial arts foundation. Given this, she asked if he knows the difference between a disciple and a martial artist. It's not just about physical improvement. The biggest difference between them is in the mind. A martial artist possesses an inner vision. With it, they can refine their cultivation, seeing their own meridians and energy points. A strong spirit ultimately strengthens the body. Our boy didn't expect this teacher to be so talented at explaining things. It was thanks to her mental fortitude that she was able to become a teacher. Now our protagonist wants to know the difference in advanced techniques. She began to explain that techniques are separated into 4 levels. The first is a Chinese term, then come abyss, silence, and non-breathing. Normal students have access to unranked techniques. They are easy to use. Anyone with a little energy can make use of them. But things are different for the students at that university. Our boy seems interested in the other levels, and now they've returned to using the Chinese names. The teacher explained that the use of relics is one of these levels, artifacts recovered from other dimensions. At the university, they only have one, and our boy's level, he won't get access to it easily. But that doesn't stop him from learning something of a higher level, since his teacher has perfected the technique of precise impact. With an intense glint in his eyes, our protagonist declared he wants to learn it immediately, so the teacher said it's time for them to start practicing. Our boy is now scared. He's once again inside that shadowy dimension, feeling his body sink into an oppressive energy, and his teacher appreciated the intensity of that training environment. Meanwhile, at the university, our protagonist's friend is living a normal life, and he finally found our boy. Full of news to share, he approached him to find out when it happened. But as he got closer to our protagonist, he felt an intensely hostile aura. It was so intense that the boy immediately drew his ice sword. Only then did our protagonist realize what was happening and apologized, saying it was a reflex. Now his friend is completely in the dark, because as he listens to our protagonist's words, he can feel an intimidating energy. 10 hours earlier, our protagonist was in that illusory dimension. Several shadowy creatures were advancing toward him. His task is to defeat these creatures without using martial power, only the blade in his hand. The goal is to make his body remember this feeling to learn how to execute a precise movement. Our boy is now determined, and he uses the dull blade to defeat the illusions. This leaves his teacher very surprised. Since not all martial artists are capable of training in that place, our boy's mental strength is exceptionally high. He should have been overwhelmed by the hostile aura, but that didn't happen. Now our protagonist has made it back to his room. That first day was very intense, and that's why this is the best university there is. While he's relaxing, his phone started to ring. It's his fiancée wanting to know what happened on the first day. She also informs him that her mother sent the object our boy had asked for. She'd also sent a big thank you since Liu was helped by our protagonist during a challenge. Our boy offered to go to her room to pick up the package, but the girl thought it best not to bother him and refused, saying she'd send it via drone. She'd also found a mentor who was guiding her development very well. But when asked about his teacher, our boy preferred to stay quiet. The semester proceeded normally. Several student factions emerged as academic life seems to be very interesting, and gradually these groups started to clash. One of these groups is the Dragon Clan, and among them is the most popular freshman in the nation. Almost no one remembers what our protagonist has done so far, as he simply disappeared for the last 3 months. The truth is, only we know that he's still training with the eccentric teacher. Right now, she's applying controlled pressure on our boy's body to refine his martial energy. But our boy isn't enjoying this at all. With his energy sealed, doing these push-ups is incredibly difficult. The pressure from his teacher's energy is almost unbearable. She's also counting every single rep, and right now, he's nowhere near the 1,000th. Our protagonist can no longer stand his teacher's taunting comments, but her patience is also running thin, and she started motivating him in a much stricter way, which ended up working because our boy is moving much faster now. Finally, the training paid off, and an explosion of energy erupted. This expelled the impure energy, renewing our protagonist's muscles. He now has completely new fibers, restoring his martial power. His shirt disintegrated, showing the great increase in his power and leaving his teacher pleased with his progress. After this session, our boy wants to go back to his room. He's been here for 3 months. A bit emotional, the teacher asked if he would ever return. Our boy assured her he'd be back soon as he needs to teach his teacher how to play video games. Outside once again and seeing the sunlight, our boy felt happy, even if his inner self dislikes the light. It feels like he's been isolated for a lifetime, and now there's a lot of work to be done. Part of the university's evaluation involves taking on outside missions, performing all sorts of dangerous tasks. Heading to the activity center, our boy wants to take on some tasks, and on the way, he ran into his friend. Ice Sword never imagined he'd see our boy that day. He had waited a long time. Talking for the first time in a long while, our protagonist learned that his friend became a martial artist 2 months ago. And now, in our boy's presence, Ice Sword noticed a dramatic change. 3 days ago, he saw a match between 2 students. One of them was the vice president of the Dragon Clan, and he ended up losing to another prodigy who is now in everyone's spotlight. While they were talking, a girl arrived. This is our protagonist's fiancé. But as soon as she saw our boy, she remembered something. She had received some rather embarrassing advice from her mother. She tried to approach him for a more affectionate greeting, but she got shy and couldn't do it. The boy found it strange that she didn't even say hello, which ended up upsetting his fiancé. Now that everyone is inside the building, they can look at the available missions. The girl and Ice Sword have already completed 3 more missions than required. They're only here to help our protagonist. The boy has already chosen 3 interesting tasks. They all involve dealing with dangerous individuals or wild creatures. Liu said that some of those missions require several people, but our protagonist has a privilege card given to him by his teacher. She assured him that few students are stronger than him right now, including the upperclassmen. His friends want to know how he got a privilege card, but our protagonist is hesitant to tell the truth. He knows that risk and reward go hand in hand. The first task is to locate a fugitive, the second to assist in an investigation, and for the third, they'll be in charge of everything. But none of this scares our protagonist. It's time for action. The secretary thought their choice was absurd as a group of second-year students faced great difficulty on the same mission. Our protagonist showed her his privilege card, but the secretary didn't believe it. She had to call the director to confirm it. After the information was validated, she wished everyone involved good luck. Outside, our protagonist told his friends to get their gear ready as he has something to do now. He went straight to the mechanics college. There's a dean there who made a custom weapon for our boy, one of the rewards he received from the challenge. It's finally time for him to use his new special sword. That really is a very interesting sword, and after making a few swings with it, our boy was very pleased with what he had received. Every strike from that sword is simply decisive. Even though it was made to his measurements from 3 months ago, it adapts perfectly to his martial artist body. The professor's work was truly incredible. Now, our protagonist and his team are outside. To carry out this investigation, they are using the identities of normal students. Our protagonist's vitality sensor has been enhanced. He can feel anything. An Ice Sword said they should head to the dormitory reserved for them. At that very moment, an old man offered them a ride. This got our protagonist excited. The mission is finally starting. Now that they're all in the old man's cart, they had to listen to him ask several questions. He was surprised to find out they were students from that place, as he doesn't know their families. Our boy said his grandfather passed away a long time ago. Luckily for him, this identity actually exists. Everything was well planned. The old man is thrilled that these kids still remember their roots. He finally dropped the youths off where they'll be staying. As he left, he mentioned a big event happening in the city in 2 days and recommended the kids go, saying they would enjoy it. Upon entering the property, they realized the house had been abandoned for several years. But cleaning is our boy's specialty. Gathering power in one of his feet, he stomped on the ground with force. His energy is clearing out all the weeds and insects. Now they can leave their luggage without worry, and Ice Sword will set up security cameras. Liu, upon entering one of the rooms, called out to our protagonist. She seems to have found something interesting. There's an altar in the house, but they can't tell what it's for as it wasn't originally there. Our boy noticed this by observing the unworn wood, not to mention the altar was clean. Ice Sword has already drawn his weapon, guessing someone might have entered this place, and is ready to deal with any intruders. Liu said they shouldn't be careless, it's important to search everywhere, and she noticed that our protagonist was already prepared for a confrontation. After a deep sigh, she realized she was the only one willing to think things through here. It was time to see what was under that mask. The girl moved her hand toward the cloth that hid it. Our protagonist sensed something was wrong there and stopped her from doing it. This only confirmed Ice Sword's suspicions, who was already prepared to face his enemies, unleashing a powerful strike against the shrine. The result was inexplicable to all of them. The statue that was there began to release a very strange liquid. Our protagonist, watching this, became worried, and he summoned the creature that lives within his heart. The creature placed its hands in that strange liquid, which now seems to be behaving like a hostile creature. Faced with this, our protagonist ordered his friend to trap the creature. Liu, who watched everything up close, is completely terrified, as she has no idea what this could be. Our protagonist touched her shoulders with his energy. This freed her from the creature's psychic influence, allowing her to return to normal. The girl felt the wave of terror disappear, and her body felt fine. Now remains to be seen what that was. Our protagonist was filled with great enthusiasm. He asked his friends to stay at the house as he was going out to investigate. Elsewhere in that city, there is a temple, and the old man who gave our boys a ride is there to deliver a message. A monk greeted him, saying his boss was waiting inside. The old messenger is now being led by the monk. They came upon a large gate. The monk announced that the messenger has news to report. Meanwhile, they wait for the gate to open, and gradually, a sinister presence is noticed by everyone. Inside is an imposing figure who wants to know what the old man has to say. Completely taking control of the monk's body, a powerful entity appeared. This made the old man fall to his knees, thinking an immortal being was among them. But at that very moment, a swift attack shot across the hall. It's our protagonist, arriving for the showdown and quickly neutralizing the opponent. The scene was chaotic, but he managed to preserve his clothes thanks to his protective field. The old man quickly realized that our protagonist was the young man he had helped. The statues in that place began to move as well. They are all armed with very sharp swords, which surprised our protagonist. Those large weapons are coming towards him, ready to attack. But the blow was completely stopped by the inner creature that protects him, leaving the statues completely terrified. They try to use their hands to attack our boy, who waits patiently for all of them to approach, touching a ring on his hand because it's time to take the action to another level. With that, our protagonist summoned his powerful new sword. With it in his hands, the upcoming scenes were sure to be dynamic. Our hero swung his sword in a wide arc. With that one move, he disabled a large number of the statues. Enraged, they tried to fire lasers from their eyes, but they were far too slow to hit him. Leaping into the air, he readied himself for the final blow. He delivered a precise strike against all of his mechanical foes. Watching the destruction was the old messenger, who was struck by a laser from one of the statues. Now, all that was left in the grand hallway was destruction. Our protagonist sensed no life force from the statues, but was surprised to discover they were machines. He wondered how a village like this could have such advanced technology. Surely the answers were on the other side of that great door. Our protagonist sent his inner creature forward to clear the way. The creature struck the gate with tremendous force. When the first blow wasn't enough, it continued its assault, until the door finally shattered, clearing a path for our protagonist to enter. He was stunned by the secret chamber. There was an entire complex of rooms underground, and in the first hall, a large Buddha statue. Our protagonist wondered aloud if his host would keep hiding. Just then, faint footsteps could be heard. A monk appeared before him. He said his religion was peaceful and asked why his temple was being invaded.